Today we're taking you inside 4 homes shaped by the timeless influence of classic English design. First we visit Amy Whyte's utterly charming Virginia home, a once abandoned house reimagined into a warm countryside-inspired sanctuary. Then we step inside Elisabeth Hipp's 1800s New Jersey farmhouse, where antiques, vintage finds, and a fearless use of color reflect years of thoughtful collecting. Next, we head to Michigan to see the beautifully restored bungalow of Brad Stanwick and Matt Anstett, filled with English antiques. And finally, in South Carolina, Amanda Louise Campbell welcomes us into her pattern-rich home, layered with playful color and a touch of English cottage charm. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. And be sure to check out our new show with interior designer Martin Lawrence Bullard, streaming exclusively on Homeworthy Plus.
You don't really know a city until you step inside the homes of the people who live there. Architecture as telling as accents, decor as delectable as local dishes, personalities who define the places they call home.
Listen, I like organized chaos.
I'm Martin Lawrence Bullard, and in Live, Love and Decorate, I'm taking you beyond the public squares and into the private spaces at the heart of my favorite cities.
I thought I'd come home.
We'll travel from Los Angeles to London, Paris to Istanbul, and even beyond, knocking on the doors of my dearest friends, bursting with style and stories that go way beyond design.
For you, I will do anything, my darling.
Can't wait to see, I'm so excited. Each home reveals more than just a city, it reveals the spirit. This show isn't about facades, it's about what's inside. It's a celebration of the passion and the personality that transforms a city's houses into true homes. Welcome to Live, Love and Decorate.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Amy Whyte. Welcome to my home here in Northern Virginia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Amy Whyte. I'm a curator at the Holiday House at Luckett's. Welcome to my home. I found this home online because I'm addicted to scrolling and looking at Zillow. It popped up for me and it just looked intriguing. It was an area that I really like. I came to see it, and as soon as I saw it, I just knew it was just for me. The house had been abandoned for 10 years, and when I finally got in to see it, when I walked in the door, all the walls had been dilapidated. There were holes in the ceiling. There was a colony of snakes that had taken up residency, but I wasn't daunted by any of it. I just walked in this house, I saw the bones, I saw the ceiling height, I saw the mantle that's behind me, and I was just like, this is it, I love it. And it's been about 15 years now that I've been slowly pulling it back together and working on it. I love color, I love wallpaper, I love pattern, I love texture. I am an absolute addict of fabrics and patterns. And so wallpaper is just a way for me to get pattern onto the wall. So I just started room by room. I started one room, and then it became very addictive. Once one room was up, the next one was soon to follow, and now pretty much every room in my house has wallpaper up in it. And from the wallpaper, I kind of bounce off of that, and that dictates kind of like the palette of the room or the mood of the room. And then I have fun sourcing fabrics that will go with it, that will accentuate it, that just play well with it. And it's just fun to shop around. Because of what I do, I am fortunate enough to be in contact with a lot of old textiles, old quilts, old fabrics, old everything. So I see it come and go, and I'm able to bring it home, try it, do I like it, play with it a little bit, because that's really how I pull the room together. I just start playing with it. I see things, I like them, I think they're gonna go together, I bring it home, I mess with it, massage it, like I like to say, just pull it together. And I'm completely obsessed with British design, English country design. I love watching all of the wonderful old shows, and I love the ones that you go through the estates and you see the wallpapers and the rooms and the way they're decorated. And it just has like such a a mood of collected through the times, and it just resonates with me, and I've always loved it, and it just comes naturally to me. I'm happiest puttering around in a room, playing with fabrics, changing out cushions, trying different throws. It just makes me feel good when all the fabrics are gelling and working together. And yeah, that's my happy thing. It just comes naturally to me. Well, welcome to the living room. This is probably my favorite room in the house. The mantle was really what sold me on the house. When I walked in the doors to see it, as I had mentioned, it was abandoned. It was in such bad shape, but here sat this mantle, and it was just so beautiful. And I loved the raw pine and the shape of it, the design of it. I knew, I was like, that's it. I just love this house. And so I knew I was going to leave the mantle exactly as I found it. And so it's my favorite save in the whole house. I love the William Morris wallpaper. It's one of the things that the first time I saw it, it just kind of jumped at me, and I was like, oh, it'll be perfect. And I think it was actually my first wallpaper attempt. I taught myself how to do it by watching some videos, and yeah, I really love this paper with the mantle. This is a room that we spend most of our time in. Usually it's me and the dogs and my son. Another favorite find in this living room is this coffee table. I looked for years and years and years. I've been waiting to find an old table. I wanted it to be an old pine farm table, and it took a long time. I had to be really patient. I found this farm table at Red Schoolhouse Antiques. It's one of my favorite places to frequent. They bring, and the owners live in Scotland, and they bring containers of beautiful antiques over several throughout the year. And I've been waiting for a long time to find this table because I wanted something that would fit the space perfectly. And we're in here all the time. I wanted you to be able to put your feet up on it. It's got tons of scratches and dings. I love that about it because it's not, nothing's precious, and we can live in here and I don't have to worry about it. But it took about 12 years. I've gone through about 5-6 different coffee tables before I finally found this one. And so this was one of my really favorite finds. Another thing I really like about in the living room here is the collection of antique pottery that I've been amassing it over probably the past 20 years. I just look for things that kind of play well together, that speak to me. I just love this whole the color patterns of browns and oranges and earthy tones. And when I find a piece, I bring it in, I play with it, I rearrange it, and it just kind of hangs out there all year as a collection of things I love. I just love the fact that the colors in this painting just play so well with everything that's happening here. And I just felt it needed to be in the scene, and there wasn't really a place to put it. It didn't really look very good up there, so I just put it front and center right on the outside of it, and it works okay. This old clock it's just a clock case. It's no longer a working clock, but it's another piece that I just love the colors. This is my favorite detail in it, is this vining and these wheat shafts, and it's very old. And now it just sits here more like a work of art. It's more like a sculpture to me, and it no longer functions, but I still love it. One of my absolute favorite things in this room is this old screen that I found from my friend Trove Magpie, Sharon. I don't know if you can see it very well. It's so dark, but it's hand-painted screen. It's a woodland scene with these deer and the forest, and it just looks really folksy, and it just spoke to me. One of the things that I like to do is play with pattern and color and textures, and I've always got covers on the sofas because we live in the house and the dogs are always all over them. They're easy on, easy off, and I like to change them out seasonally. Right now it's summertime, so I have this really lightweight check on here, and I always love a check. A check is it's a no-fail go-to mix-in when you're mixing colors. I usually find myself mixing with some kind of floral, check, stripe combination. It's really a no-fail recipe for combining colors. This rug was a new find. It's kind of fun. I saw it online, and I love the scallop. I love the pop of green. I love this limey green color, and I think it ties in nicely with the wallpaper. And I love the scallop. I thought it was really fun, and it really wears well. It's very dog friendly. It cleans up great, and yeah. These floors are the original floors. Believe it or not, I did not have them refinished or anything. After all the work on the house was done, I got out with a bucket of water and vinegar, and I scrubbed them by hand, and I just brought them back to this. I like the low luster, not shiny. I love the wear and tear. I like that they're uneven. I like that there are marks. To me, it shows the age of the house, the story of the house, and nothing's too precious. You know, we can have accidents in here, all kinds of things. They clean up great. I just love these old oak floors. The room that we're in right now is in the center of the house, and it's actually the darkest room in the house. We do have some exterior windows, but so I try to leave lamps on in here often. I love these ginger jar lamps here. They were just a lucky Home Goods find. I absolutely love them. The chandelier, I just wanted something really simple because there's so much going on with a lot of pattern and textures and a lot of actual items. I wanted a very simple, clean line chandelier to give me some light without really to just be there, without really adding a whole lot to the room. Another favorite, very recent find that like just a few weeks ago I found for this room were this pair of old tavern benches. They're French elm, and they're absolutely perfect. It's like they were made for this, but they're really old. When you're furnishing your home with antiques, it takes time. You have to wait and wait and wait and look and search and just be patient. And eventually you will find the piece that was just meant to be. And when I saw these benches, they're the absolute perfect size to flank the end of the side of the sofas. And they just, they work perfectly. When I plopped them into place, it was like they were just meant to be. And they were the thing that just finished off the space. So to me, they were the finishing touch to the space. I had to wait years to find them, but when I found them, I just knew exactly they were right, and I love them. The massive pine cupboard that I found at Luckett's store. It's narrow, it fills the space beautifully. I'm able to put all my collections in it. I found it about 5 years ago, and it has that weathered old English pine look, and I love British design, I love English country, and it just fits beautifully there. And then I wanted to flank it with something, and I love pops of yellow, so I painted these two dressers yellow, and I think they flank it nicely. The art in this room is one of my absolute favorite finds. There's a really good story behind this art. If you can see, there are these two paintings here, and then there's other works from this artist throughout the house. But I went to an estate sale with my friend, and she called me one morning and says, "Hey, come on, let's go to a estate sale." So I went, and there was art everywhere. The entire house was full of art. And we were down in the basement, and we were rifling through things, and I see under a table there was this artist portfolio, and I thought, that's intriguing. So I pulled it out and looked at it, and I opened it up, and I just started leafing through it, and there were all these beautiful pastel chalk works of art. And I didn't know anything about the artists. I didn't know what they were. I just knew that each one of the other ones over here, each one of the images just spoke to me. And I was just really moved by this art. And so I ended up buying the entire portfolio for like $15. And I brought it home and researched it. And it's actually art by Ethel Louise Paddock. It's not extremely valuable, but she's a well-known artist. And she did her work mainly in the Pennsylvania and New York areas in about the 1930s. Anyway, it was a fun day. It was a fun discovery, and I had it all framed, and now it hangs in my dining room, and I remember that fun day every time I see it, and I just really like her work. There's another piece in the bathroom I'll show you later. They're new sconces, but I love fabric, and I love texture and pattern. The shades I found on Cherish, I think I was on, Cherish, and they're old, and I lucked out. I ordered them, they came, I popped them on, and they fit perfectly, and I just always like to add a stripe, a check, a floral to pretty much every room has a stripe, a check, and a floral in it. In the pine cabinet, I change this out seasonally. It's one of the things that just helps me, just play with the house and get to rotate things out. But my favorite thing in here are these plates I found in a recent trip to Provence. I went antiquing, and I found those in a little antique store, and I wrapped them all up and packed them in my carry-on and brought them home with me. And I just love just the age and the patina and the design, the pattern design, and the color, that intense green color. So that's just a fun memento from my trip to France. This hen I found on I went camping with my son on a trip to Maine, and he loves running in antique stores with me, and he always goes off and looks for his little things. And I found this hen, and she just spoke to me. She was $5, and she's been broken, glued, put back together, but I just love that. It doesn't mind me that it's been cracked and broken. To me, that's part of its story, and the fact that somebody loved it enough to mend it and put it back together, and it's survived all these years, and now it's here in my home, and it's a fun memory of our trip to Maine. The table and chairs. The table I found at Luckett's store. It's an old oak wing table, gate leg wing table. I wanted an oval for this space just because I knew it was long, and I wanted something round just to kind of soften the edges because we do have to move around it. But so the table was the first thing I found. And the head chairs are also from Luckett's store. I love a stripe, and I like the intense blue color. And so the first thing I had was the table, and then I found the head chairs. And then these are a recent purchase. Actually, I'd had the chairs for a while, but I had them recovered in this fabric by Alison Gee. She's based in England, and I just like the tiny floral with the stripe. I think it complements the blue chairs and works with all the other colors gelling in the room. But this is like absolutely one of my favorite fabrics. And as soon as I put these chairs up to the whole set, it all just kind of started to sing. This is a Pottery Barn chandelier. I wanted something that was here and had presence because it's a large space, but I didn't want the visual weight. So to me, this is light, and it came with some standard little linen shades, but I love pattern and design, so I found these from Alice Palmer and popped these on, and I think that it just completely transformed the chandelier. Actually, there's a fun story about this pine chest. I saw it online, and I knew it was massive. I could tell from the picture that it was pretty big, and I went in to visit it, and I saw it, and when I first saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, it's just too big. There's no way it's going to fit. But I loved it so much, I bought it anyway, and when I plunked it down here, it just fits. I mean, it does go over the molding a little bit, but when you know, you know. I put it here, and it just kind of finished off the space perfectly. Welcome to my office. There's a lot of light in this room, these huge picture windows, and probably the biggest statement in the room is the wallpaper that I selected from in here. It's a colorful choice from Brunswick and Fee. I just, one of those things, as soon as I saw it, I just fell in love with it. And I just installed it on this one wall, hopefully to emulate looking like bookcases, but I just love all the colors and the books, and it just makes the whole room come to life. The white chest is a painted English chest, and the painting above it is kind of a nod to our Northern Virginia home location, the Hunt Scene. And this piece of art over here I collected again on that trip from Maine. It was in an antique store. And I like the play of this like orangey red. It just bounces off of the wallpaper, and this little collection here, we pick it up here, 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 and your eye bounces around to it. These are all things that I've just collected through the years. I've owned some of them for a long time. Some of them are new finds. One of my favorite things in the office is this little tiny bamboo chest that I've placed here. I keep my envelopes and mailing stuff in there. This old toll tray on the wall, I put it here because I thought all the colors and the flowers just worked really well with the colors in the books and the wallpaper. And it was actually the first hole I put in this wallpaper. It's very nerve-wracking when you decide you're going to hang something on wallpaper. But I held it up there, I decided it was perfect, and so I just went for it and went ahead. And once you break the first hole, then others will follow. The drapes I had made for me by a local seamstress. I knew I wanted height for the high ceiling height in the room, and I just love this block print pattern and the color green. It's just so rich and warm, and it kind of frames the space outside beautifully. The green from the outside, bring it into the room. The pine desk I found at Luckett's store. It was sitting outside in one of their outside pavilions, and I knew it would fit this space. I knew I wanted something big. I wanted to place it in front of a window, and it's the right height. It kind of blends seamlessly with the window height, and it's just a great space to work at. These cane chairs I found at Luckett's store again, and they're what I was drawn to was this unusual color in the leather. I just love this pop of this bright lime green. And yeah. You'll see that the color lime green carried throughout my house. This dog toile chair, I had this chair. I love the chair. I had it. It was just a plain muslin. It's a very comfortable chair. I love it. I saw this dog toile by Lee Joffa, and I decided I wanted to put it on this chair, and I mixed it with a houndstooth, just a little cheeky pairing there with houndstooth and the dog toile. And I just love this chair. It's actually the dog's favorite chair. They're always in it, so I'm steam cleaning it a lot. Welcome to the morning room. This is a space that we spend a lot of time in the mornings because the sun rises right through the trees, and when it comes in, it just floods the whole space with light. It's just a great space to have my coffee, to chill, to catch up on news. And behind me, the built-ins, I had these bookcases built in, and I decided to, of course, put more wallpaper behind them, and collection of things that I love and pattern. And these lampshades are by Alice Palmer. I paired them with these old glass lamps that I painted this mustard yellow. So this wallpaper is by Pierre Frey, and I put this in here, and just because I love the texture and the pattern and the blues that are in here. I love hanging plates on walls. It's a great way to use plates and as a piece of art. And this room, I have a lot of fruit. There's a fruit theme in this room. So I found this old painting of strawberries, and I wanted to pull the colors of the green from the curtains over to this wall, and then the plate above kind of ties it all together with the blue from the wallpaper, the cherry red from the strawberries, and the green platter. The fun sofa here is, it was a flea market find, actually. I think I paid $45 from it at a flea market, and I found this toile fabric again with the dogs on it, more dog toile. I found the dog toile at an end of the bolt sale, and I bought it. There was just enough to cover it, so I had it covered in this, and I just think it's really fun. It's just a happy space, and I mixed it with this blue that kind of pulls the blue from the wallpaper, and this center pillow here is a nice tie-in. I think anytime you're mixing patterns and textures, to have a jumping off piece, and then mix your scale. This is a large scale in the pink, and then the small scale in the blue, and then always look for a tie-in piece. This is my tie-in piece that pulls all the colors together, and it really was once I found these pillows, the whole thing just kind of came together. This is a fun ottoman. It's a new ottoman, but I wanted to change it up. The whole thing is chenille, but I covered the top cushion in more fabric from Allison Gee. I think I've also used this in other areas of my home, but I just love the mix of the stripe and the floral. It's very English. It's very English country, which is near and dear to my heart. And I think it's just such a sweet fabric, and it pairs so well with the toile and the other things in the room. But this fabric is a favorite of mine for sure. The ottoman in front of this ottoman in front of the ottoman was a gift from a friend, and I love the lines. I love the empire curl. I love the colors in the needlepoint, and it just kind of is another pattern. It pulls in all the colors that are happening here, and it was a gift from a friend, so it's a nice thing to have in the morning. This is Charlie's favorite chair. It's a good thing that it was a very inexpensive flea market find. It was a lucky find. It's old, and I love stripes. I love the blue pinstripes. I think they're a lot of fun. They play well with the pinky red toile, but it was to find this and a matching ottoman for a really great price with a down cushion, and it truly is Charlie's favorite chair. You can find him here pretty much any time of day. Welcome to the foyer. This is what you first walk into in my home, and it's kind of what I first saw when I walked in the house and was finding it for the first time. And it's really kind of what sold me on it. I walked in and I saw the ceiling height, and I could see the bones, and I could see the French doors and the floors, and I just felt Just the scale of this room it's like a warm hug. It's a proper greeting, and I've always wanted a home with a foyer, and this had it. And I just love this space. It's a great place to receive. This wallpaper was one of the first wallpapers choices that I made for the house, and it's William Morris Marigold in the chocolate colorway. And I do have to say, I really, really love living with it. It's very soft and serene and calming, and it's a perfect pattern, neutral pattern, for my colorful artwork. When I first put it up, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to hang artwork on it. I was like, oh, how's it going to look? But I actually love it. I think it's just this soft, quiet pattern background, and it's a perfect place to display all of my colorful artwork, and I love color. This bench, this little petite pine bench, I found at Luckett's. I actually used it in one of my holiday houses, and it didn't sell. So I was like, well, I'm taking that home. And it fits perfectly here. I can keep all the dog leashes and blankets and all that kind of gear in there, come and go. And it was a little difficult to find such a petite bench to fit this small space, but it works perfectly here. If I could find more of these rugs, I would. I found this on Etsy. I was scrolling, and I knew I wanted something vintage. I really wanted to check, so I just, I think I put in my search, vintage Turkish runner check, and this came up, and the measurements worked. I bought it, and I brought it home here, and it really just completed the look of the chocolate and cream, and the chocolate and cream, and it looks like an old quilt to me, and I just love that it's on the floor, and it, I just love what it does for the space. I have baskets everywhere. I love baskets. It's a great way to bring texture to a space when, you know, there's a lot of color happening. There's something about the natural woven material that kind of grounds the room and makes everything just calm down a little bit. So there's baskets and wicker in pretty much every one of my rooms. The lighting in here, I found, it's old. I found it at the Luckett Spring Market years and years ago. They're from an old schoolhouse, and there are actually 5 of them. There are 3 in here, and then 2 more petite ones that are in either of the halls. But it was a really, really lucky find because I wanted lighting that looked, I wanted it to be consistent with this space. I wanted to have the same lighting, but I wanted it old. So to have, to find 3 antique fixtures that all in a row was a really lucky find. The art I've placed above this English pine chest is from an artist. Her name is Azra, and she's based in England. And her art just really speaks to me, and I love the colors and the vibrancy and the stripes. And so I picked out 4 pieces from her that were floral still lifes that also incorporated stripes, and I've put them all together in one space on this wall. And I just really like the pop of color over the soft neutral patterned background of the William Morris wallpaper. This lampshade is something that I made on a course that I took on pattern lampshades, and this is just a very inexpensive little candlestick light that I painted the same color as the front door. So one of my favorite colors, it's called Italian Basil by Sherwin-Williams, and just for another little pop of color. This clock I found in bad shape. It still is in bad shape, but to me it was just so sculptural. It looks like an old Swedish clock. It wasn't always white. When I found it, it was brown, and the veneer, as you can see, was just cracking and popping, and just it was in really bad shape. But I could see the lines of it, and you were distracted by the bad condition of the veneer. So I saw it white, and I painted it white, and let the natural distressing come through, and you can see like where the white paint has reacted with the veneer, and to me it just looks old. It looks like it's been painted white for forever, and it just highlighted the sculptural aspect of it, and I just love it, even though it doesn't work. Let's go check out the kitchen. But when I found the house, there was no kitchen. It had been completely ripped out years and years ago. This was just an empty shell of a room. Actually, there was a wall dividing these 2 rooms, and it was just kind of a very strange space. So I removed the wall and integrated the 2 rooms to get the space. And then because I was working on a budget and the whole house needed to get put together, I just slapped in a really quick kitchen just to get me going. And I actually ended up living with that kitchen for almost 14 years. And just this spring, I was able to finally pay some attention or get to the kitchen and finally do the kitchen the way I always wanted to do it. Well, my vision for the kitchen was came from my recent trip to the Cotswolds, and they had cupboards in their kitchen that looked like furniture, and I wanted this kitchen to look like an English country kitchen. And so I found a carpenter that put in these cabinets for me. I took out the uppers that I had put in here, and we just focused on the lowers. And this tile is one of my absolute favorite things in the kitchen. This was made by a lady in England, and she actually hand did some of these tiles for me. If you'll look closely, here is Stewie, and here is Charlie and Oliver playing. And to me, it's just like a really personal touch that we're now a part of this house's story. I just love Delft tiles because it's a very English country kitchen. I wanted to open the kitchen up. I didn't want it heavy, so I just wanted to use some light open shelving, and I'm able to display some of the things that I've collected through the years, but I just wanted it to feel, I wanted you to be able to accentuate the ceiling height. I wanted a place for art. I wanted a place for the beautiful things that I collect, and I just wanted it spared down. I didn't want cabinets everywhere on the uppers. I put in a farmhouse sink, and I found these unlacquered brass fixtures on Etsy, actually, and I made the Roman shades with more fabric from Alice & Guy, and I like the pop of color, the little subtle soft pattern that it brings. It ties in all of the colors from my pottery and the artwork, and this was a recent find. I absolutely adore this. I found this at Luckett's store from Exeter on the porch. It's an old porcelain sink drain. And so I was able to do away with the unsightly sink drain that was here and put this in, and I absolutely love it. I stack my dishes here, they drain, and it just really contributes to the old world feeling that I wanted this kitchen to have. Okay, I found the island over a year and a half ago. I found this at the Luckett's Fall Market. And I knew it was really the jumping off point for the kitchen because I knew I was going to be redoing the kitchen. And I knew that I wanted this to be the island. So I bought it, and it's been in storage for a year and a half waiting to have its place here. And I love the color. It's kind of like this duck egg green. It's just like this like tweener color. It's not green, it's not gray. It's just this soft and the wear and tear that the distressing of the paint, the old patina. I had to have pattern shades in the kitchen, and these are from Alice Palmer Company. I adore them. I love a good stripe, and the green. I like to carry the theme of green, a lot of green in my house. The green carries from room to room to room to room, and these are very similar to the front door color, but I just love a pattern shade, and these shades from Alice Palmer, they're kind of like the rock star of the kitchen. When I put them up, it was just everything came together. I love an old checkerboard floor, and it goes all the way back to my grandmother's farmhouse. She had an old linoleum red and white checkered floor, and I can remember playing on it as a little girl. And I knew I wanted to do a checker patterned floor in here, and this floor is actually old school vinyl composite. It's kind of like that you see in industrial spaces. And what I love about it, it's extremely inexpensive. It's crazy durable. I've got 3 big dogs running in and out. You really can't hurt this floor, but it just has the look of, it's just a timeless old look. So I went with a soft chocolate and cream color to kind of just be like a nice soft checkerboard backdrop for what else was going on, all the other things going on in the kitchen. So when I was working with the carpenter or the design team actually, on designing the cabinets, I knew I wanted them to look like a piece of furniture, like an old English cupboard. And one of the things I love about old cupboards and old English chests are they have a galley. And we decided to come up with this little extra feature right here, which was kind of like a last minute add-on, but I really like what it does for the kitchen. It's just a nice detail that makes it feel more bespoke and more like a handcrafted kitchen. The appliances I chose because I wanted a standalone fridge. I just love the way this one looks. It looks old, it looks vintage, it just works really well. This is from Big Chill Appliances, and it just fits perfectly in the vibe that's happening in the kitchen here. The one cupboard that I do have on the wall in the kitchen is this old oak cupboard. It is an antique, and I just like the warmth and the texture and the age that it brings to the kitchen. So this is an old piece that I sourced, and I found it did have a bottom. I used the bottom in another room in my house. It's actually holding the television in the living room, but the top I took off and we hung it here, and now I do have a little bit of blind door storage to hide things that aren't so pretty to display. And I just really like the mix of the dark and the light. It looks very kind of just gathered farmhouse kitchen furniture that we had through the years that we decided to use and have function. Little Eden space that I have in the kitchen is this little pine table that I found on Marketplace for 45 bucks. And I married these chairs that I found at a local antique store, Hip and Humble Interiors out in Berryville. I get out there as often as I can. They always have really great finds. And I walked in the front room of their shop one afternoon, and I saw these chairs around a table. And again, it's that lime green that I love, and it's actual original paint on it. And I didn't have to do anything to them. This is exactly how I found them. And I dropped them in here, and they were just perfect. It was like they were meant to be here. I love them. This lighting fixture was a recent find on a trip to Cape Charles. I literally found it like 6 months ago at a little antique store. It was in the back in a cardboard box, and I could just see the top of the chain peeking out, and I saw the green color, which caught my eye. And I dug around and pulled the paper off of it, and I found this old lighting fixture that I loved the color and the etched glass and the pattern, and it was just very cottagey, and I thought it'd be perfect here over the table. So I snagged it. It was like 65 bucks. It was a really good find. I buy things that speak to me. It sounds weird, but when I'm out looking around, I love antiquing, I love thrifting. I go to both of the markets that my shop puts on. I'm a big part of that, and I get exposed to a lot of great stuff there. But when I'm looking around, things really speak to me. They literally jump out at me, and that's how I collect. I buy things that I love or that resonate with me, and I bring them home and put them near something that also resonates with me, and it all just kind of works together. The number one thing I would say that is to just trust your gut and buy what you love. When you love something and you bring it into your home and you find a space for it, it brings you joy every day. And every time you see it, it's what makes your house yours, and it just what makes your house warm. And I would just buy what you love and don't overthink it. Leading into the bedrooms on both sides of the house, there's a little narrow hall, and I wanted to balance them and paper them both in the same paper. And I used this Anna French Julienne in my favorite green. And it's a really nice space for me to do a gallery wall with a lot of my personal family photos. And it's just like an intimate space leading into the bedrooms with a lot of our life photos mixed in with some found art to kind of just make it interesting and have some other pops of color. So it's not just photographs. I like mixing art. Needlepoint was my first attempt at needlepoint there. Mixing florals and paintings with family art, and it's just a little intimate gallery wall. And that leads into the guest bedroom. Okay, so this room is my guest bedroom. I just recently redid this room. Actually, the whole reason I decided to redo this room was because of a wallpaper that I found. This wallpaper is vintage. I found it on Etsy. It's probably from the 80s. It's French. But what it reminds me, and I'm an 80s girl, it reminds me of the vintage Waverly, vintage Ralph Lauren. It's kind of got that vibe. And as soon as I saw it, I just fell head over heels for it. So I bought enough to do the whole room, did the whole room, and then everything else followed from there. So I started with the wallpaper. The next fabric decision in here was the fabric on this headboard. And I wanted something that had a little bit of pattern to it, but was kind of quiet against the loud floral. And I chose this green that has kind of like this natural little flecky polka dot happening in it. And that's kind of a nice break in the pattern. And then I take it down and reintroduce some more patterns here with some checked pillows, another floral. This fabric actually was on an ottoman in a cottage in a recent trip that I took to the Cotswolds, and I fell in love with it and researched the maker of it and ordered it. That's how I found Alice & Guy, which now has tons of fabrics throughout my house. But and this is a vintage pillow that I found in an antique store. The quilt is from Pottery Barn Teen. It's again, so I kind of have like the pattern, the quiet, a little bit more pattern, quiet. And this vintage, I like the pop of the mustard yellow, this vintage homespun piece I found at a local antique store. The same one where I found the kitchen chairs, Hip and Humble. But I love the quiet pattern that this has. The floral was a find at the Luckett's fall market, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just saw it and it spoke to me, and I brought it home, and then I had already started on this room. I hadn't furnished it yet, but I had started the paper, and I walked in and thought I'd just play with it in here, and I held it up to the paper, and I was like, oh, it was just meant to be. So that I knew was going to take pride of place over whatever bed I decided to put there. And the plates were a fun find. I was actually working on wallpapering this room, and I took a phone call from a friend of mine, Dylan. She was out shopping and sourcing some things, and she said, look at these cute plates that I just found. And she sent me the photo of them, and I was like, I think they're kind of perfect for the room that I'm working in. So she set them aside for me. And that's how that whole kind of collection came together. These are just baluster lamps that I got off of Amazon. They were kind of like a creamy white color. I painted them again, that same color, the green of the front door, Italian basil. The shades are a pattern shade. I wanted to bring another pattern in. I like the light blue. I think it picks up with what's happening in the wallpaper, and the scale on this pattern is smaller and tighter, and the wavy line just plays really well with the wallpaper. So I love blue and green. I love the combo blue and green together. You can't go wrong with blue and green. This is a little bench. This is, I got it at Red School House. It probably came over from England or Scotland. I paired it with a pillow that was a vintage find, a vintage ticking. It's rare to find ticking with the pinks and the chocolates. You see a lot of blue and white ticking, but what struck me about this was the coffee color paired with the two tones of pinks, which pulls out all the other colors from the room. I love pattern everywhere, but for me, I can't have pattern on the floor. So every time I've tried it, I love Persian rugs, but every time I lay one down, I've got so much pattern happening up to the eye. When it falls on the floor, it just doesn't sit well with me. I can't do it. So for me, a seagrass rug is just a very quiet, soft moment with all the pattern floating up above. This chaise lounge here, I found it at Luckett's. And it's one of those things, as soon as I saw the price, I was like, I have to have it. I just love it. It's really comfortable. I actually sit in it a lot. It's a really sweet space to see. I sit here and can look out at the garden. Charlie also loves it. He's in it all the time. But it's old. The fabric is original. And it's just this really durable fabric. It wears well. And I like the fresh green and the subtle pattern and how it plays with the wallpaper. The drapes. Well, I wanted to bring a check in the room because I love a good check. And so I ordered these custom, and it's the periwinkle blue that pulls out a color in the wallpaper. And I knew this room gets a lot of sun, and I wanted the shades for the pattern and the texture, but I didn't want to have to open and close the shades every day. So I wanted to pair it with a bamboo blind. I think it's a nice pair to have curtains and a blind. It's just something more interesting for the room, and these go up and down so easily. So every morning, every evening, they just go up. They function really well, and they bring a whole nother texture. It kind of grounds all the color everywhere to bounce that blue, the pattern, that rattan-y feel around. It kind of calms everything down a bit. It's a place for the eye to rest, if that makes sense. This lamp is really old, and I found it at an antique store. I don't know how old it is, but I loved the pattern and the color. And actually, when I found it, it's damaged. It's got a hole in the back, but it didn't deter me. I still loved it. It still works. And I just turned the mark to the wall. You'll never know it's there. And I found this shade at Home Goods. It's a fun find, and I put it with it, and I just think that they work really well together. Welcome to my bedroom. Of course, are you guys getting tired of wallpaper yet? There's more wallpaper, shocker. The wallpaper I chose for here was this William Morris Strawberry Thief in the chocolate colorway. When I was deciding on this wallpaper, I think I probably bought every single colorway it comes in and bought by the sample and held them up and thought about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. I taped them all up there, and every single time my eye just kept going back to the chocolate and resting on the chocolate. I was just like, it's just so soothing and serene. So that's the one I went with. I did the head wall in the paper. I didn't want to do the whole room in the paper because I also fell in love with this rosy brown color that I wanted the rest of the room to be in. And so I chose this wall color. It's called Foxy Brown by Benjamin Moore. Also, it's a great name. You got to go with the paint that has the name that you'll love. So for the bed, the first thing that I fell in love with was this striped duvet by Lebeco. And the quilt is from Garnet Hill. I like the colors. The rosy color pulls out the wallpaper, and I just like mixing. I like the small scale floral with the stripe. The pillowcases are just the softest black print. They're just kind of like a whisper of pattern, and I love that. And I like layering. I like all kinds of layers. So we've got the soft whisper of a black print with a stripe, broken up with a stripe. And then this is the other side. What I love about this quilt is that it's double-sided. And the other side is just this fun pop of mustard that really isn't anywhere in this room, but I love what it does for everything. It kind of just breaks it all up, and it's just a nice little pop. This chest is another one of my, I have a lot of English pine chests throughout the house. It's my go-to piece of furniture. I just can't get enough English pine chests. So that's my actual dresser. And this pattern, I used to collect pattern wallpaper boxes. I've been collecting them for about 30 years, sold most of them. But this one was, I got back into it because recently I found this one at the Luckett Spring Market, and I couldn't resist it because to me, it just resonated so well with all of the colors and the patterns in here. And this is where I keep my jewelry and my rings and things like that. And I love this portrait of this nude of this lady. It's just so quiet and relaxing, and to me it's just an intimate piece of artwork to have in an intimate space like a bedroom. And the artwork above it is by that same artist, Azra, that did the artwork in the foyer, more florals and stripes. You'll see that theme occurring throughout my house because I like stripes and flowers. The sofa in this railroad stripe I just like it. It's quiet, it's soft, it's a great space to just curl up and relax and be quiet in. The fabric, I love it because it reminds me of Oshkosh Bagosh overalls. It's just really just relaxed, and the soft blue and the subtle stripe. It's just a pattern, a texture. It's there, but it's not very loud. And my favorite thing in the whole bedroom, I'm get choked up talking about it, is this little ottoman here. This was a gift from a dear friend who knows me very, very well. And this ottoman is a needlepoint dog that just, it's just the sweetest thing ever. And just the fact that she knows me so well, and she saw something and she knew immediately, oh my God, Amy's gonna love this, and I love it. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's got all the colors. It's got the pink, the brown, the dog, the raspberry color, and it's a dog, so I mean, it's got everything, and I absolutely adore it. In this little secretary, I just have all my nail polishes and things like that, and I can sit here and work on my nails. It's a quiet space. Not that I do them that often, but when I do, I've got the perfect spot to sit and do it. Come check out the bath. This bathroom, when I bought the house, was actually 2 bathrooms. House is an odd house. We're not really sure what its purpose was, but I think it was some kind of a farmhouse or tenant house or boarding house, because there are a lot of bedrooms and a lot of bathrooms. Basically, just about every bedroom had a bathroom off of it. So this space that you're standing in right now was divided in 2. It was a bathroom for that bedroom and then a bathroom for what's now my bedroom, and I knocked the wall out in between the 2 to have space to have a nice, big, luxurious bathroom. The wallpaper in here is Fox in the Snow by Lake August. I have a thing for foxes. I love foxes, and this, I think, pairs really well coming off of the bedroom, the 2-tone of just the chocolate and the cream. It's quiet. I mean, it's loud, but it's quiet, if that makes sense. And it works really well with the Strawberry Thief chocolate wallpaper. And I pulled a lot of raspberries and pinks in here to kind of blend with the bedroom. This Turkish rug was an Etsy find. It's vintage, had all the right colors that I loved in it. This vintage French chair I thought was really fun. I liked it. I liked this rose-colored suede that was on it. I thought it just pulled the colors in that I was looking for, and it's a great seat for the towels. And this is another piece of art that's hanging above the bathtub there from Ethel Louise Paddock that I found in that docket at the estate sale in the portfolio, the artist portfolio. So that's another one, her floral of peonies, and peonies are one of my favorite flowers, so decided to hang that one there. These doors were added, they were found, I should say, because when I created this bathroom, this opening was new, so I needed to find some new doors for it, and I found these at a local antique sale, Chartreuse. I found them years and years ago, and they're double doors, and this was clear glass, but I textured it for a little bit of privacy. But I just like the old world look of them, and I think they bring a lot of texture to the bathroom. Okay, so this is my other guest room. The paper I chose in here was Denim Flower by Max Humphrey. And it was another paper that I saw. As soon as I saw it, I was struck. And I put this up, and then I just love the two-tone quality of the paper and the texture. And once it was all up, I just kind of felt like this room just kind of needed to be simple and pure and stay true to the paper. So I kind of just went with a whole soft, quiet blue and white color scheme in here. And this is an old pine bed that it's an actual old rope bed that I found at the Luckett's spring market. This pine cupboard houses all of my linens and towels and sweaters, and it's just a piece. I just love the patina on it. I love English pine furniture and the hardware, the batwing, the patinaed brass batwing hardware. It's just a nice accent, but it fit this little wall perfectly. And it's just really cozy right here. And I stacked some old vintage trunks on the top for just a little texture and pattern, and the fun dog statue there, because there's just fun nods to dogs throughout my house. This bench is actually really unusual. I found it from Foundry Antiques. She has a location in Frederick and right down the street from where I live. What I liked about it was the original ticking mattress that was still with it. That's unusual to still find the mattress, and the narrow size. It fit this wall perfectly, and I thought what a great space for guests to plop their luggage on or to sit down and tie your shoes. And I just think it worked great with the blue and white scheme and the wallpaper, and it works great here. It's a great napping bench too. The dogs nap on it all the time. The last space we'll talk about is this kind of funny little room that's in the back of my house. It's kind of a fun space, really. It's my fun space. It's kind of a catch-all room. I have a little sink set back here. I put this little kitchenette in. It's just a great place for me to arrange flowers, art supplies, crafty kind of stuff. So this is a little space where I'd work on that. The wallpaper in here is by Main and Market Designs. It's called Garden's Bounty, which is really appropriate because the views of this room are the garden and my zinnias that I love. And there's zinnias in the paper. It's just such a sunny, happy paper that as soon as I saw it, I just knew it was for this space, and I was going to turn this into just a fun space to be. The green trim is, again, my favorite color. It's that Italian basil. It's the color of the front door. And since the wallpaper is so fun, I wanted to go fun and go fun with the trim and do a pop of color. And I carry that same color throughout the house. I think that consistency is interesting and fun to do in a home. So this is Italian basil by Sherwin-Williams. Painted all the trim that green. Yellow fridge works. This is great. This is an old Kelvinator. This refrigerator is older than me. It's from the 1950s, and she's still ticking. I stock it with, extra drinks, extra fun seltzers, sodas. It's just totally kind of like a fun hangout space. There's also a bar. My little bar is set up back here. This sideboard was something I found at Luckett's Fall Market, and It's an old English sideboard with a galley, and I turned it into a bar. This is just a corner on the opposite side of that room. It's just a table that I can sit, I can craft at. It's an extra space to be. If I'm wrapping presents or I want the mess out of the way, I can come back here, I can hang out. So it's kind of like a project, craft, fun room, catch-all room. This is not a clock, it was a clock. It's an old clock case that I think someone has turned into a bookcase or a shelving unit. And I love the painted flowers and the quirkiness of it. And I just thought it looked nice there between the two windows. It's very cottagey. Home means comfort and joy. This is my happy place. At the end of the day, I come here and I am surrounded by my dogs, pieces that I've collected through the years. Each one of them has a story. I remember who I was with when I found it, what I felt like, what the day was like. It's just, home is comfort. Thanks so much, Homeworthy. Thanks for coming and take a look at my house today. I've got some more wallpaper to go start hanging at the holiday house at Luckett's. I'll see you later.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Elisabeth. Welcome to our home. Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Elisabeth Hipp. I'm a project manager, and welcome to my 1800s farmhouse in New Jersey. What drew me to this house? I'm gonna go back in time a little bit. So my husband and I grew up in the South, both in typical neighborhoods with yards and trees. Cut to, my husband is a Broadway actor. Where is Broadway? It's in New York. So we moved to New York, but we lived in Queens and lived there for several years and had a stint in LA where we had a house and a yard, and we really realized how much we wanted to have a little bit more space. And we found a house in Maplewood, New Jersey, and loved that house. It was during COVID, or right before COVID. We had the opportunity because there wasn't a lot going on in the Broadway world during COVID, and we really did that house up. But I was able to really kind of sink my teeth into what was my style, what is it that I liked about home, what drew me to home, and it really started to become about color and expressing myself through color. And with that being said, we finished that house, and really I remember sitting in the backyard of that house and being like, we've done it, we did it, we are happy here. Cut to later that night, I was searching Zillow. I saw this house and was like, wait, we have to go see that house. I'm sorry, I know that we said we just finished this house, but we have to go see this house. And we've been here 5 years. What drew me to this house in particular? Immediately, I saw what it wanted to be. It was very different. The previous owners loved this house immensely, but had a very different aesthetic. And it just spoke to me the way in which there was still so much character in the space. There's original floors, original fireplaces, and to be so close to New York City, where we commute in and out every day, was really incredible. But I just loved the history. It had a really good vibe. It is actually an old apple farm. So the Conklins were the family who owned it originally, and I really like to think that even in this kitchen, they were like peeling apples from their farm and working really hard. So it has good bones and a really good vibe to it, and we felt that immediately, and we just really fell in love. And as we started to kind of get excited about moving here, the previous owners let us come and visit several times, and I just started dreaming up things. And obviously things have evolved since we've lived here, but I felt like I had a really clear vision of that cozy, warm, and colorful home. Welcome to my living room. This space is probably one of my favorite spaces in the wintertime because you have the fireplace, which it gets cold in New Jersey, and we had an exceptionally cold winter this year. So being able to have a fireplace, a place to come home to, and just snuggle up after being freezing cold in New York City or just out and about is amazing. This space, before we moved in, was much lighter. I would say there was a lot less color. The previous owners loved this house and took really good care of it, but they had a very different aesthetic. So when I saw this house, I don't know really what drew me to a pink living room, and I'm really grateful that my husband does not mind having a pink living room, but I found that pink for me was actually quite soothing, and over time just really fell in love with this color, and have just collected things over the span of 5 years since we've lived here. One of my favorite patterns is this rose medallion. I love, love, love these colors. I don't know really what it is about it, but I think it feels really gardeny and fresh and springy. Spring's my favorite season. So I really think having that collection, and I've anchored kind of my home colors to this color palette, not really intentionally, but more because I just actually really love it. I think that, this space has kind of organically happened. I collect everything secondhand. I would say 98% of my house, maybe barring light bulbs and mattresses, maybe bedding too, is secondhand. So everything you see in this room has been really purchased either from Facebook Marketplace, estate sales, thrift stores, charity shops. So I have really, over a span of 5 years, just kind of found things that I love. I found these two floral chairs, which I find to be super cheery, also really comfortable, because I do think home, you want it to be beautiful, but it also has to be comfortable. You need to be able to snuggle up. And these chairs were at an estate sale, and I was so happy to bring them into our house. And this beautiful secretary is one of my prized possessions. It was from a beautiful house in a neighboring town, Montclair, a massive, gorgeous kind of mansion. And the woman who sold it to me, she said that she got it at the Park Avenue Armory on Fifth Avenue, which is a very fancy antique show. She paid upwards of $9,000 for this. I will just be very transparent. I did not pay $9,000 for this. But I love it, and I think it's really beautiful. I like the curves of the panes and the glass, and obviously it's a great place to store more of my tchotchkes and collections. Another treasured piece is this brass chest. It is a brand called, I'm not going to say this right, Cerid. It's a Spanish brand. This was one of the first pieces that we had in our apartment in the city, and I still love it. I have things that I will kind of, as I collect and thrift, I might change things out, but there are certain pieces throughout my home that I do feel like I would never, ever get rid of or let go, and this is one of those pieces. It just is a really cool piece. I love the patina on it. It feels like it has a lot of character and an innate story of itself. So I really love that. This Chesterfield sofa is, again, really old and was from an estate sale. And I will say, when you thrift, nothing is too precious because, things don't cost as much as if you buy them brand new. I have 3 cats, and I will say that they love to scratch things, which is not the greatest. But it's just not precious. And I think living in a beautiful home doesn't mean it can't be comfortable or stilted. So I really like thrifting, and those are some of my favorite finds here. So this corner, this was in our first house in Maplewood. It is I honestly don't know if it's actually French or not, but it is resembling a French piece. I love the inlay. I love the gold. It's great for storage. We have our office supplies in here. This collection here is something that I bought at an estate sale that I absolutely didn't need, but come on, a lemon topiary and matching candlesticks. I mean, I had to get it. So this is I just love it. It just makes me really happy when I look at it. And it kind of is the perfect, I think, pairing with my lovely lady here, who I think I named her Bertha. I can't remember, but maybe her name changes. Anyway, I just love her. I think she's really poised, and I also really like the coloring. It feels very calm, and yet she feels like she has a lot to say. I also kind of went a little crazy and decided that I wanted to wallpaper the ceiling. I will say I got the wallpaper secondhand, bought it off of Facebook Marketplace. I think my wallpaperist didn't love me because it may not be the best quality wallpaper, but I love the way it looks. It feels like, our ceilings are quite low because the house was built 200 years ago. So it's built for smaller people, and that's me. But it does help kind of bring your eye up. And I just like that, that ceiling to me is always another opportunity to decorate and to add a detail. So doing this trellis wallpaper felt like a really fun play, adding in the blues, which you kind of see dotted across throughout the room on the gingham curtains and in pillows and accents. Blue is a really calming color, so I find that the pairing between the pink and the blue brings me a lot of peace and calm. I think over here, one of my favorite finds, actually, so I'm from Tennessee originally, and there's great antiquing in Tennessee. And my mom and I were antiquing at a little spot there in Memphis. And I saw this monkey lamp and I just love it. Again, it's like this whimsical feeling, nothing too serious, nothing too stilted, but it just makes me really happy when I look at him. And I think lamps overall are something that I really love. Two things. My friends often say that I should start a cult called the Church of Chairs because I am their founding leader. I love chairs. You'll see all throughout my house there's a lot of chairs. But second is lamps. I love lamps. I think I rarely ever use the overhead light. I love, love, love having different layers of light. I also just like shapes of lamps. I got these from a friend on Instagram who has a little shop. And I just love tassels, and I loved the shape of them paired with the rattan shade. Again, not taking anything too seriously, but just buying what I like. I think one of my favorite projects that we've done in the house, I didn't really know what to do with this wall because, as you can tell, it's not perfectly centered. The window kind of skews it. So I played with a lot of different things. I had an Asian screen here. I had, kind of more of a gallery wall, but nothing quite felt right until I found this collection of botanical prints at an estate sale. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think that's where that's supposed to go. So I purchased very cheap Amazon frames and put all of the botanical prints in these frames. And my husband very kindly helped me hang them. I will say, being in a 226-ish year old home, nothing is plumb or straight. So hanging a grid wall might actually be the worst possible idea. And I will say, we started measuring, but by the end of it, we were just eyeballing it all the way because if it was measured, it would be completely crooked. But I really love it. And I think it brings a lot of cheer. And I am a huge flower fan, especially, again, in the winter time. We do gravitate to this room because of the fireplace. So feeling like there's actual life and flowers and growth in this space when it's quite cold and dreary outside makes the winters feel a bit more bearable. I also, over time, kind of started realizing, because though we do have space around our house, I wanted a little bit more privacy, also to add another layer or texture to the room. So I found these fun gingham curtains, checked curtains that really play into the blue in the ceiling, the blue in the chair, blues just throughout the room. And I just find that they're really cheery. Nothing, again, too serious, not too formal, but I think just the feeling of almost like they're not quite perfect really plays with the house. The house is not perfect. I'm obviously not perfect. So it's a good balance of just charm and a little bit of whimsy. So living in a 200-plus-year-old house, you have a lot of quirks. One of the things is the fact that the floors are really crooked. Another positive quirk, which I don't think the floors being crooked is a negative, but is having really unique little nooks. This is a built-in piece. I don't know what was originally here. Maybe this was a door. I don't know, but this was here when we moved in. A little storage area. I keep our little games and cards in this cabinet, but it's just another surface to kind of show some of our books and some of my favorite tchotchkes. Again, I really love the rose medallion motif. My sister painted this and I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. my mom got me this lovely little, it's actually a vase, but I really like it the other way too. I think it's super cool and weird. And yeah, of course I do have, you'll see in each of the rooms that I have a collection of staffy dogs from varying sizes. My husband is a huge dog fan. I am an equal, I like dogs and cats. We have 3 cats. We don't have a dog, but however, he has all of these dogs. He has like 10 dogs throughout the house. So that is, you know, you'll see lots of our staffy dogs. Actually, moving over here, you'll see a couple more of the dogs. Again, I just really love the way that they look, flanking either side. I have some collected books, and this mirror was actually in the house originally. It was in this room, maybe not originally, but for the previous owners, and they sold it to me, and I love it. I think it's nice to have something from the past carried over, and getting to enjoy it as well is great. So I do love having just little nooks and collected areas. I think having little spaces that feel like a vignette feels really cozy and homey to me, and being able to pull out the ottomans, we have extra seating. It's just functional, but also fun to play around with. So that's our living room. Now I'm going to show you our little library. Come along. So this is our library. This room was not a library when we moved in. It was actually a bedroom. The previous owners used it as their primary bedroom because this is the main floor. You'll see as we go throughout the house, there's 3 different levels, and it's a really quirky layout in that regard. So this is the main level, which made sense because you know, they could easily access the bathroom, etc. We wanted to have a space, so the living room you saw does not have a TV in it. We wanted to have a dedicated TV, really library snug, and so we felt like this was the perfect space for that. So this space was actually a closet. We had it built out and finished as a bookcase. More places to store and show all of my collections, tchotchkes, and books. This actually on this side was just a blank wall, and we really were able to completely finish it with bookcases. My husband and I love to read, so being able to have a place for all of our books. We also enjoy, I'm not really good at playing chess, but we do enjoy playing games here, and we'll often have our dinners in this room. We can watch TV, watch movies. It's a really multi-purpose and functional space for us, from hosting guests to reading to having coffee in the morning. But I really do love the dark colors, having the lighting. I actually found this piece at a thrift store. I think it was like $20. I mean, really everything in this room is thrifted. One of my favorite things that I have thrifted ever, actually, and this was from a flea market, is this lamp here. This is a Chapman tassel lamp from the 80s. I saw it at, I think it's the Elephant's Trunk Flea Market up in New Milford. Maybe that's the wrong town, but Elephant's Trunk Flea Market. And I saw it was covered in dirt and grime and was really lackluster, but I saw what it was and really got excited. I think I paid $20 for this, and it's just such a cool piece. I love the shape. You can see there's like several tassel motifs throughout our space. There's something really whimsical about it to me. Like, who doesn't want a big tassel lamp? These fun chairs are great. They swivel. Who doesn't love a swivel chair? These were Facebook Marketplace finds. They were actually in this exact upholstery, and I just felt like they were such a fun, vibrant stripe, which played against the florals. The floral fabric I actually found at a discount fabric store in New Jersey that has a lot of really great quality. This is Lee Joffa, but for very, very, very low cost per yard. I think this was $8 a yard. So we drenched it with the Roman curtains or Roman shades and the pillows. But really cheery. Again, a little different vibe and take to the colorful, less pastel-y, more in the reds, greens, but still gardeny, which I think is a good example of my aesthetic. So let me tell you about the Asian screen. You'll see these, and then I have one upstairs as well. I really love the chinoiserie aesthetic. maybe it's just, I don't know, I just think they're really, really beautiful. I don't know a lot about the history of these screens. These were purchased for, I think, around $100 on Facebook Marketplace. They're one entire screen, but I've separated them to flank the window. I really, really love just the ambiance. The gold is so pretty, I think, against the lamplight, the scenery. It feels really calming. I love especially this willow tree in the corner. Feels really magical. And I don't know if you remember those fireworks that if they go up in the sky and they kind of fall down. That's what that reminds me of. It's just really, really calming. And yeah, I just love the vibe of it and how it kind of reflects from the lamplight. Okay, so this house is, again, 225 years old. I don't know if this fireplace is original. It is not a functional fireplace. You know, little trick of the eye. The screen is here. There's just a black screen behind it, or black board. So it is not a functioning fireplace, but it's fun because you get to decorate it at Christmas. But it's also a great mantle to decorate not at Christmas. You see more of my Staffy collection, which I do love. And also I got this old horse at an estate sale. Our friends think that it's haunted by a child ghost. It is not. It is perfectly nice. If it is haunted, there's no one, wishing us ill will. It is a great little guy. His name, Tommy or Timmy? I can't remember, because you have to name these things, right? This screen came from a Victorian house, I think in Plainfield, New Jersey. I got it at an antique store, but I couldn't believe how much it resembled the floral in the curtains when I found it, and so it felt like it really was meant to be here. But I do love the fact that it has this mantle. Even if it isn't working, we do have dreams of maybe putting a gas fireplace in here one day. That's further down the line. As you know, with all things with old houses, things take time. And that is just fine. We're happy with it now. Fun things about old houses is that you have little quirks and things that, I don't know if they were original, but one of the things I loved when we first saw the house was the different doorknobs. I love this little doorknob. I think it's ceramic. It's probably old, I don't know, but also this big chunky key lock, which we don't have the key anymore, but I do love that. One thing I'm a big fan of is decorating spaces that maybe you don't typically think about decorating. Love to collect art and a lot of different types of art. We were gifted these really cool kind of Vanity Fair portraits by a friend of my husband's, and I just think they're so fun. And why not put it on a door? This portrait was from an estate sale. I'm really curious about it. I have no idea what where it came from, the provenance or anything, but I just loved them. I thought the rich, deep color really spoke to me. And then my husband's an actor, so you had to have a little bit of theater, some old kind of vaudeville style pieces there, and just kind of put them all on the door. Again, it's a white space. Why not put some art on it? Similarly, on the other side of the room, you see kind of a mirroring of the same. So you see that we have another Vanity Fair print. This guy with a monocle, he looks very dapper. This is a lady, again, super dark, rich pink colors. I also love the gilded frame. And then you have our little goofy guy with his sword, ready to do a little jousting maybe, and his theatrical pose, but very fun. This doorknob is also, I think, probably my favorite in the room. It is what do you call that? I don't know, but it's like a little bicycle. And I love the kind of odd shape of it. Again, it's just a fun quirk that you really wouldn't find maybe in houses today, that I think somebody probably put this in. Maybe it wasn't here when the house was first built, but over time, as folks lived here, they added these different elements, and I'm glad that we get to take care of it and kind of add our own as well. Do I have a favorite room in the house? I think it's a really cool house because every room kind of functions differently and kind of works for different seasons. The living room really acts as our home base for the winter because of the fireplace. This room really acts as like a cozy coffee morning spot. It faces outward, so you can kind of watch the sunrise. It's really lovely. I really think probably my favorite room in the house is the kitchen. I remember when we first saw the house, we were walking the main floor, which is the living room and this room, and the realtor looked at us and said, I bet you realize something's missing. Like, where do you think the kitchen is? I was like, oh, you're right. I hadn't even thought about the fact that the kitchen wasn't here. We've done the whole top floor. So we went downstairs and walked into this really old, well-maintained and preserved kitchen, but really, I think, felt like it could be in today, but also had the remaining character of ages past. And I just fell in love with the quirk that it was at the garden level, which felt very British to me, and I'm an Anglophile, so that was perfect. But also the fact that it had the original fireplace mantle, the cooking stove part of the fireplace. It had beautiful counters and great cabinetry that felt of the house, but still functional. It was just so magical to me. The original floors. So I think that room is probably my favorite in the whole house. It just feels really old and historical, and I love that. My path to decorating is really super informal and also started when I was about 5 years old. I used to rearrange my bedroom probably once a month and was obsessed with trying different things. I remember I thought I was so cool because I got these placemats from the dollar store that were all these different colors. Ironically, they're the colors of my living room now, but I cut them up into squares and made this collage, kind of artistic wall decor. And it was very scrappy and it was not fancy, but it was really creative and cool. And I think I just always loved and appreciated space and home and creating a space that feels cozy. I always had lamps. I never like to use the big light, as we say, the overhead light. I'm a big proponent of lamps. My mom is the same way. I come from, a very humble family, but we loved home, and my mom always created a really beautiful and comfortable space. Lamps were at the forefront of that. And I think my journey to decorating after that was really just kind of building on what I liked. When we first moved to New York, it was my first space to really decorate, and it was about a 500 square foot apartment. It was really small. It had raw brick, which was huge, and something that I was really excited about as a feature in our first apartment. And I think that just really allowed me to try and continue to try, but I was really anchoring to what other folks were doing versus really leaning on what I loved. And I think over time, from our first house to this house, really just saying, I love what other people do, I respect and admire and am inspired by what others do, but this is our home, and filling it with things that we love. And that might be way too much for some, but it's tchotchkes and things that I look around and truly make me happy when I see them. And I think that's something really important when you're creating and curating a home, is to just buy what you love and surround yourself with things that make you happy and that bring joy. Home should fill your heart and be a little bit of a whimsical escape from the world and all the things that go on in the world. So this little guy, I think, was probably a window originally. So the original house, what we were told at least, was that side, and that was 1800. The new addition was around 1850. So I think they probably closed this up. On the other side of this is our laundry room, which is not very pretty, but it is fun, and I think it's a perfect spot to display. My dad makes handmade bowls. He's actually super handy and does a lot of things, but this is one of his handmade bowls. It really holds my collection of blue and white decorative balls perfectly. And again, I really do love that Asian Chinese cherry blossom vibe. It feels very springy and gardeny, and this little spot kind of holds it all perfectly. So this is our dining room, and one of the things that is really unique about it is that you noticed I came downstairs. So this is the garden level of the house. And I loved that, one, I could fit a round table. I love having a round table because it feels very equitable when you're at a dinner party. Everyone gets the same chance and same conversation access. What I also love is that it had all of the board and batten in here originally. When we first moved, it was a white board and batten, and then we had the walls painted. I think it was Mouse's Back by Farrow and Ball. As we kind of lived in the space and knew that we wanted to do something a little bit different in here, we decided to color drench the walls in, I think it is called Cook's Blue by Farrow and Ball, but it is this really vibrant, cheery, playful blue that I think pairs really nicely with my collection of blue and white ceramics. I do not prefer blue and white pattern over another. I love all blue and white, and you can kind of see that. I have blue willow, I have some spode, I have some flow blue. I really enjoy just a lot of different blue and white patterns, and I think it really does play nicely with the blue walls. Another thing that I love is cabbage ware. It's very cheery and gardeny, and I've collected this over several years. I actually got this teapot, which I'll show you because I think it's really fun. Who doesn't need a cabbage teapot? I got this from a gentleman off of Facebook Marketplace. I work in New York City, and I met him on the street in New York City, in Chelsea, and he gave this to me in a plastic bag, and I was like, this is very dodgy, but I will take it because it's a cabbage teapot, which I do really love. There's just a lot of fun stuff in this room. Two of the things that I really love in here are these massive Bunny Williams lamps over here. They are really spectacular. They came to me via Facebook Marketplace. Again, everything in my home is thrifted secondhand, and not like at fancy antique stores, but really like charity shops and Facebook Marketplace. This is probably crass to say, but I do have champagne taste on a beer budget, and this is my champagne taste, and I think I paid a total of $40 for the pair when I think they're like $2,600 lamps a piece. So I feel really proud of these, and I will cherish them. Another piece that I love, and again, I think I've said previously, is that I do change things a lot, and I think purchasing secondhand allows you the ability to kind of move things in and out as your life changes, as your style evolves. And there are a few things that I feel that I will never get rid of, and that is this French commode. It came to me through an estate sale. It is stamped France on the back. It is a marble top, and I love it. I think it's really fun, and it's beautiful, honestly. That's all I have to say, is it's really beautiful. And it just creates, gives some good storage space, but also kind of anchors this side of the room. And then I think, there's a lot of other things that I would love to talk about in this room, because I just find, I love all of my tchotchkes. We have some more Staffy dogs, which I think are really fun. I realize that this one is missing a pupil, so don't look too closely at that one. This ship painting reminds me a lot of, if you know the artist Mary McGuire. It is not her piece, but it reminds me a lot of her. It is an original piece. I think I got it secondhand somewhere, but it feels very New England, although the ship says Montana, but it feels very much like an Atlantic type boat or northeastern colonial. And I really love it. I think it's a fun kind of whimsical piece that adds a little bit of charm in this room. So I love blue and white pottery, ceramics, and I really do not discriminate between patterns or styles. I love them all. I have collected blue and white over probably the past decade or so, and one thing that I really love about when you go to estate sales is that you can often find automatic collections. So if you go into an estate sale, somebody has probably been collecting something for decades, and you get to give that collection another life. A lot of these plates, the larger plates, were from a collection of from an estate sale, and they didn't have them all in the same place, but I knew that I wanted them in my dining room. And so I think all of these center ones were from the same house. It was a beautiful old colonial home. And I think they all kind of go together, even though they're different patterns. But the main theme is that they're all blue and white. And I like that they're different. I like that they're all kind of varying in scale, varying in density of color. I just find that they're really, really cheery. It wasn't the hardest thing to hang them up, because I'm just really antsy and I don't like to wait or measure things. So I think me and my sister hung these and we eyeballed them, and it was probably not perfect, but that's the beauty of having a home that's not plumb, is that you don't have to worry because it's gonna be crooked even if you do measure. So honestly, it really wasn't that bad to hang them up. I did actually want to show you, so we have radiator heat in this house, which is great. It does keep the house really warm. But because I have 3 cats, cats love heat. And my dad, who I've mentioned, creates these beautiful handmade bowls. He's also really handy and an incredible artist as well. He actually made these granite toppers, which is awesome because it holds the heat of the radiator, and the cats love to lay on here and enjoy looking out at the birds, looking outside, and staying warm in the wintertime. So now you've seen my dining room, which I do love, but I do want to show you my very favorite room in the house, the kitchen. So come on. So I love this space. When we first saw the house, we were walking on the main floor, which is our living room and now the library. And the realtor asked us, do you think something's missing? And I had to think about it for a second. I was like, wait, where's the kitchen? He was like, wait, let me show you. It's really quirky. You're probably gonna hate it. I was like, okay, I love quirky. Let's go see it. So we go downstairs to the garden level. You have the dining room, and then you walk into this really well-preserved old kitchen. And I immediately was like, I have to have this house. This is perfect. And quirky is exactly what I want. And I don't hate it. I love it. Let me put an offer on the house. So essentially we did do that, obviously. But this house, it's really a cool space because the house has this original part of the kitchen, and yet it still functions really beautifully for modern day. I don't know what it was like, 200 years ago, but I do imagine that this was an old apple farm. It was a family named the Conklins, and all of this land around it was their apple orchard. And I just imagine them coming in after a long day on the farm, picking apples or whatever you do on an apple farm, and just enjoying their food, maybe an apple pie smelling really good in here, cooking on the side. I love to think about what it might have been when they were here, and I'd like to think that they're happy with what we've done with the house. But I think it's pretty incredible in this part of the country, especially being close to New York City, where folks haven't maybe changed things over the years and taken out some of the character or covered up the character. The fact that you have this original pine fireplace mantle untouched, there's not an ounce of paint on this, is something that I find to be really, really special. I call this my Cracker Barrel kitchen because it really makes me feel like I'm in a Cracker Barrel. Which I actually love. But it's just such a cool, beautiful statement in of its own. I mean, I think about what gatherings, what food, everything that was prepared or touched on this fireplace, and it's really beautiful. Some of the other key things that I love are these old nails that I've hung some of my copper pots on, but they're like hand-hewn nails. I mean, they're not like a standard round nail, so I don't know how long they've been there, but they certainly aren't modern. I just think it's a really unique space that maybe you don't get to find in New Jersey, or at least, again, this close to the city. What I do appreciate about it, and from previous owners, is that they really kept the flow and the functionality at the forethought while still maintaining the integrity with the exposed beams, the fireplace, and maintaining all of that. When we bought the house, the cabinetry was actually all wood, and the countertops were kind of a blue and white Corian with blue and white backsplash. We came through and had a bit of a different perspective. We wanted a little more of that rustic vibe, so we went with a butcher block countertop. We painted the cabinets. I think it's just, I don't remember the name of it, but it's a really nice neutral. We went with the beadboard backsplash to kind of bring in that more farmhouse, old school vibe. And we did have the refrigerator custom paneled to match the cabinetry. Wanted it just to kind of blend in and again, just feel like it was a part of the kitchen. And one of my other favorite furniture pieces in this space is this old British baker's rack. So I guess this probably was used to warm or cool off bread. I don't know, how old it is, but it feels that it's of the same age of the house to some degree. It's a great spot to just store all of my, bits and bobs, my pictures, copper pots, etc. But it's a nice place to store them and also to look at them because I do like the way these things look. I would say another piece that we really love is our stove. I think she adds a lot of fun. She's very petite. I would not cook an entire ham in the stove, but it's great because it's just my husband and I, so we get along fine with it. But she's really a lovely thing to look at. I think there's, it is a really warm space. It's not super big, but it's nice if you're hosting and you can have folks sitting at the counter and, you're making food and talk to them, or have folks sit at the table. This table is quite cool as well. It is a vintage, well, I don't know how vintage it is, but I got it off of Facebook Marketplace, surprise. It is an old French bistro table. It was from a gentleman who was downsizing and needed to clear out some stuff from his storage unit. So I happily took it and was able to give it another good home. And I think, we do have our breakfast here sometimes. We do eat dinner in here sometimes. It's nice to just sit around and enjoy the kitchen while someone's working or even work at the table. It's been many a times where I've put together a baked good sitting here as well. So this side of the kitchen is where our sink is. Again, this was all wooden cabinets. The cabinetry was great, and I loved the inset look of them. We really just changed the paint color, the hardware, and then the countertops. We went with a different countertop by the sink because we wanted to have that durability of marble. It felt like it worked better with the water component in the sink. One thing that was interesting when we were working with a contractor in this space, he said, you should do a different color for this base. And I thought, that's such a brilliant idea. I'm gonna do it. So we went with this lighter blue tone. It's just different enough, but it makes the space kind of feel somewhat of its own versus the rest of the kitchen, which is all kind of this taupe color. It's great. I mean, we really love having the marble, and again, it's just a working kitchen. It's nothing fancy, but it does feel very warm and cozy. And I'm grateful for good contractors who have good style and can propose paint options. Do I like this home more than my childhood home or the same? I'm really grateful that I was, I had the opportunity of living in a really warm and loving household. And my mom always took great pleasure and pride in decorating her home. We were, a working family, and my dad worked, my mom stayed home. I was actually homeschooled my whole life. And so she was working really hard just teaching us all. I was one of four. And we didn't grow up in a fancy house, but it was always a place where you felt a sense of warmth, you felt loved. It still is. My dad actually built their home now. It's on 54 acres in Tennessee, and he built it from the ground up. It took about 20 years for him to do because he was working simultaneously. And so there is a lot of, I think, care that my mom and my dad put into their spaces. And I think that is what has rubbed off on me, and that your home should really feel like you, so that when you host folks or when you just come home after a long day of work, you're able to really relax and find that escape. I think that this house was innately that for me. I remember stepping in the door for the first time and really feeling like this was our house, and it felt like it was meant to be. And I think with my childhood home or homes, that was the sense, is that it felt like it wasn't really the walls, it was the space inside and the people inside that made it what it was. But my mom always took really great care to make it a warm space, and that's what I've tried to do here. So do I like one or the other more? I think that they complement one another, and that they actually are quite intertwined, because I would not be who I am today and also wouldn't be decorating or, really creating spaces if I hadn't grown up in a home with such care and also thoughtfulness in how it was decorated. So this is our entry room. When we moved into our first house, it was quite a small house. It really didn't have an entry. You walk kind of straight into the living room, and that was something I really longed for, was a proper entryway to welcome guests, have a spot to drop things off in, and so I'm really grateful that we have that here. It really started, I think the design started probably for the whole house with this William Morris, I think it's Ben Pentreath, his colorway. I saw this online and I just loved it. The color scheme, the beautiful leaf, I think it's the willow bough pattern. I just felt like it really emulated the vibe that I wanted to create as soon as you walked into our house, which was this gardeny, whimsical, not too serious, but colorful feeling. And I think it really does that. So you'll kind of notice that the rest of the house really does go off of this theme. It was intentional, but also not, I don't think, super forced in that way. It just kind of was something that I saw and I loved it. Another thing that I really love is this pine chest. I love an old scrubbed pine piece. This came from a house up in Connecticut. Again, I found it on Facebook Marketplace. I really love this piece. It's got the original keyholes. Of course, you have to have a tassel for a little bit of garnish. And then I found this painting at a local charity shop. I think it's for the Rotary Club. And I think I paid maybe $30 for this, but it just feels so summery, springy, maybe springy and summery, but really colorful. And I liked the abstract vibe of it, but also you could tell that it's sunflowers and peaches, but it doesn't feel quite realistic. Again, I think the entryway for a home, as a designer or as someone who is, consulting with folks, I really do try to think about how does that set the tone for the rest of the house. And for me in this space, having things that are layered, different types of color, different types of textures worked in this space. I will say maybe my pride and joy is this lovely lady who adorns the wall when you first walk in. This is a print, but it's a numbered print by a woman named Judith Bledsoe. I don't know much about her, but we got this at, I think it was an antique store, very, nominal how much it cost. But it was something that I felt like that was me. As Penny is walking in perfectly timed, this is literally me and Penny. Say hi, Penny. You knew we were talking about you. But I do feel like this painting really does kind of feel like me walking in the dark somewhere with a cat, with a parasol, because why not? So that's my entryway. And, I think it's quite cheery and would love to welcome friends through this area. Penny, say hello. Do you like welcoming people? You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. I think one of my favorite memories, and it's something that is just very simple, I love getting up in the morning and having coffee with my husband on the weekends. It's something that's, because of his schedule, we're often two ships passing in the night, but I genuinely throughout the week look forward to that time where we can kind of sit by the fire in the winter, sit on the porch in the summer or in the patio, just have a space that we can reconnect after a long week and just really enjoy our home. And what I love about this house is that it has those different spaces. So you have the living room with the fireplace, and you can really feel snug, which in these really harsh New Jersey winters, which we just had and hopefully we're getting out of, is to be able to have a space that you can feel that sense of warmth and snuggle up and just kind of be. And then also be outside and sit on the porch, enjoy the fresh air in the spring and summer. So I think it's really less about a specific memory, but a ritual that I really enjoy and look forward to each week. I also think Christmas in this house is really fun. It has so many fireplaces and mantles. That's really fun to be able to decorate each one differently. And I went really crazy this year here with paper chain and went full-blown elementary school, as much paper chain. I think I have like 3 bins of it in our garage right now, because of course I'm gonna reuse it. But I really enjoy just the whimsical nature that paper chains brought, and getting to experiment each year, and not, it's not always about purchasing something new. And I think that's something that I feel really passionate about, is the idea of collecting over a period of time. And collecting means picking up something when you're on vacation, or, as I like to do, thrift every weekend. And it's not something that I should do every weekend, but I do, and I love it. I really enjoy thrifting, and for me, thrifting provides, not only it's a sustainable option to purchasing, but you're giving something a new life. You get to create and collect over time things that you love, and I think that is something that I really enjoy. But I think the holidays in this house really feel snuggly. It really helps to again, get through those winters when you have cozy places to snuggle up in. You might be wondering where we sleep. Oh, right, we haven't seen any bedrooms. Let's go upstairs. I'll show you our bedroom. Welcome to our bedroom, which is a really quirky part of the house. The previous owners used this area as their TV room. We, however, wanted to use this as our bedroom, but you'll notice that there isn't a wall here. So we found this Asian screen, and it kind of acts as a privacy wall. We can't put a wall here because we wouldn't be able to get furniture up and down the stairs if we did. So it kind of feels like a lofty vibe. It isn't, it isn't closed off, but it's a really cozy room, and I think this actually helps a lot with that privacy feeling. I love this room. It really does bleed in more into the red color scheme, which is not something I normally would gravitate to, but I do think it works. It still feels really gardeny. I think the best thing in this room are the curtains and the headboard. I found these secondhand at a really beautiful 1700s house in upstate New York. They were selling them online, and I got them for a steal. I think they're Colfax and Fowler. So I love these curtains. This really, I think, made the room come together. This room's gone through several iterations. And again, that's one of the beauties of thrifting, finding things secondhand, is that you can kind of evolve. And I do think your house should evolve with you. At least for me, I'm changing every day, and I don't think your house should stay the same, because you're also changing, and it should change with you. So I had some different curtains here that I found, but then I saw these and I was just blown away by the color. I think they're Colfax and Fowler. I don't recall the pattern, but I do love them. I think their depth of color, there's the reds, the blues, the greens, and it was also kind of kismet because these ceilings are so low. I don't even think they're like 7 feet. They're quite low. But to find curtains that actually are a perfect length, it felt like they were really meant to be here. We got them from a really cool old house. I think it was built in 1700 up in upstate New York. And the house was so cool. The owners were thrilled that these curtains were going to someone who loved them and was excited to put them in another old house. But they welcomed us into their old house and gave us a tour of their house. And so, you find those people where you get excited about old house things, and, you kind of bond over that. So again, everything in this house really does kind of have that type of story where it was from someone that whether it was an estate sale or a purchase on Facebook Marketplace or a thrift store. I do feel like there's a connection to the things in the house that I feel really proud to kind of continue to let them live on in our house. So these are probably some of my favorite finds, especially in this room. So because these curtains came, I think I had 8 total, and I only had the 2 windows, I got a little creative and I wanted that really like heavy pattern drench. This headboard was just a solid blue headboard, and I just draped one of the curtains over it. It's kind of, you know, creative slash maybe a little janky, but it works. And it's great because then if I don't like it or I want to change it, I can remove it. So it is a very fun way of just expressing the pattern in one more layer. I also carried in some of the blue and white. You'll see that in every room. Again, I do not discriminate on blue and white pattern. I love blue and white. I think it's a neutral. I have a mantra that animal print and blue and white are neutrals. I think they go with everything. And so adding that layer here, we have the sconce lights, which are great if I do a crossword puzzle in bed or read in bed. They're awesome for that. I added this little trim piece. It's actually on double-sided tape. So if I change my mind, I can take it off and put something else or not have anything at all. So a lot of just kind of fun, creative things in which I can make some small tweaks, but not necessarily feel like it has to stay that way forever. This room, the way that it's set up is really unique. So you have the walkway here, and then it faces two smaller rooms, one which kind of functions as our office, another which functions as our dressing room. So it's totally not feng shui, but it's still cozy. And, you know, in old houses, they just had to make do. My guess is that those small rooms were probably bedrooms, and this was probably some sort of like communal space. But we got creative with it, and it's a great space for us. It feels very calming, and oftentimes I will just come straight to bed after work and just cozy up here after a long day. So it's nice to have a place where I can come back and feel that sense of rest and calm. What does the word home mean to me? I think home is, without sounding too serious or even trite, I think the word home is truly a space where you can escape. It's that whimsical escape, the ability to come from the busyness of the world, take a deep breath, and enjoy the solitude or the space that you've created and with your loved ones. And I really enjoy being able to share my space with you all, with my friends and my family. But home means escape.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're visiting Pleasant Ridge, Michigan to explore the beautiful home and gardens of Brad Stanwick and Matt Anstett. As the founder of the Parsons Nose Antiques, Brad's passion for art history, which he studied in college, and his love for antique English furnishings have shaped their home's unique style. This passion allowed Brad to leave the corporate world and follow his dream full-time. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Brad.
And I'm Matt. Welcome to our home in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan. We'd love to show you around.
Hi, my name's Brad Stanwick, and I own the Parsons Nose Antiques, which is an English antique importer.
And I'm Matt Anstett. I was a research scientist for about 30 years until I recently joined Brad to help him with the antique business.
So we're in Pleasant Ridge, Michigan, which is a really small city just north of Detroit, and our house is a California bungalow. And when was it built?
It was built in 1912. We did a bunch of research and found actually an article in the Detroit Free Press from 1912 showing the house selling for about $5,000. And this was sort of a community of to get away from the city, so it was a lot of cottages, and really this was the country. We're about 15 miles from Detroit.
I would describe our style as sort of really antique. We have a lot of period oak, antique mahogany, some pine, all English. We did this renovation, I think, how many years ago now?
Oh God, maybe
Probably
15.
5 years ago. We bought the house in 2003, but one of the first things we did was the backyard, which we'll see shortly. But we're really excited to do this kitchen renovation. This hearth room here was not actually here. It was a sliding glass door outside. So this, even though it hopefully looks like it's been here for a while, this is a brand new room with a brand new fireplace. We put in a full wood burning fireplace, which was really important to us. And then we have the wood storage underneath there as well.
And a lot of the windows you see here were all made in an old on an old machine instrument in Missouri by the Weston Millworks. They did all the old glass individual panes to match the original windows. And this kitchen, it was sort of like a Brady Bunch kitchen when we bought it. It was not really done very well, and you had the avocado ovens, and we lived with that for quite a while till we were able to do this renovation, and we love to cook and entertain.
Yeah, we wanted a space to be able to sit and relax, and this is where we have our coffees, usually in the morning, with our dogs, and we're able to kind of look outside and see the garden, which is really nice, and kind of get cozy by the fire. Of course, we've been waiting to announce the dog names. This is Clementine.
This is Miss Eleanor.
And they're Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. So really everything you see in the hearth room is from us, the Parsons Nose. The chandelier is a German chandelier, Black Forest. This dining table is English, pine, and it expands. So we can set a few more people around it if we need to. These are old Windsor chairs from England that are surprisingly comfortable, and we do tend to use and abuse them, and we really love them. The paintings, you may notice a theme of horse paintings. I've been told that I've cornered the market on them, but we love the look. Also, we're really interested in Chinese porcelains as well, so you'll see those all over the house. As far as inspiration goes, for me, I've always been sort of an Anglophile. My background's in art history with a minor in decorative arts. It sort of has been a natural thing for me to start doing, importing. And I was in the IT world for about, 23 years, which was great. But in 2019, I was able to leave the IT world and start doing the Parsons Nose full time. This is a little, what I call a Lake District table. And it's one leaf, opens up, just when you need a little bit of extra room. It's old oak, so you'll see that as a theme kind of throughout the house. So these I purchased in England at an auction house in the countryside, and we really try to light all of our artwork because it adds so much to the room. And then that's a little duck head that's actually from Denmark. All right, so let's take a look at the rest of the kitchen. It was really important for us to have a good size island. It was intended to look like it was built from old pine, and this is Curator marble on top, which definitely gets etched, but we sort of like that patina, and we love using the kitchen. So you'll notice the range and the cupboards over there that there's scratches and dents and dings, but we do a lot of entertaining and a lot of cooking. So
now, when we first had it installed, we were worried about little scratches and chips and things like that, but over time, our friends and family came and destroyed everything. So, and we did too. It's the best kitchen for us, and we really love it. We went from having kind of the worst kitchen to having our dream kitchen. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one of the funny things about the kitchen is there's no upper cabinets. What we did instead was over one of these pine dressers, where we keep all of our dishes and bowls. So we really don't have any uppers, and we use this every day. And when the dishwasher is done running, we put all the dishes, and then when we serve, we grab them all. But it's really handy, and we really love it. And it's sort of enabled, I think, a different look than when you have uppers. We also did these copper pots here, which yes, we do use. Maybe not as often as we use the stainless steel, but we definitely use them. And some of them are rather old. They have really beautiful iron handles. We love the warm look of them and have enjoyed collecting them.
And polishing. We also had a lot of the hardware here you see for the shelf and the hanging made by local craftsmen. So we often find people that are local that can do some unique things like this, and also we had some of these things like this push button gangplank here done by our the same craftsman, and he stamped out the different areas that these push buttons, which we put in light up. This kind of came from inspiration from, we tour a lot of the local mansions, the Ford homes. So these large Tudor homes that Edsel Ford and Henry Ford had built back in the day. And one of the things we saw in one of the houses was this really long push button light switch panel. So we kind of took inspiration from that and some of the other designers.
We worked with designer John Rattray. He owns Craig Hall Interiors. And so while we sourced really all of the antiques and we sourced all of those types of things, John did a number of things for us around space planning, electrical plans, style of the light fixtures, the plan for what the tile would look like. For example, we're not particularly good with fabric, I have to say, but John's brilliant, and he chose anything that you see that's fabric. In here, he chose really all the paint colors as well.
And a lot of detail on the space planning to optimize the square footage that we have. It's about a 2,800 square foot house. So this just, the way it was laid out, the way he laid this out really is an open kitchen space, which is great.
And I think that's one of the things that you forget that you need is space planning. So, I'm kind of a furniture guy, if you can tell, and so I just kind of want to cram furniture everywhere. But John really sort of restrained me and made sure that we were doing the right thing with the space and in really the right look. So kudos to John, and really we couldn't have done it without him.
Now we'd love to show you the dining room. And on the way, you can see the bar that we installed with the beer taps. I did a lot of engineering to have a full-size fridge, a bar fridge in the basement, and lines that come up to these two taps. Of course, they're empty because it can be very dangerous to have any kegs of beer on hand for very long.
And one of the other things we did was we put a second dishwasher in here, which really has saved our lives many times, especially during a party. So I think one of the things that I would definitely suggest doing would be having two dishwashers. So you can see it's kind of right here. John did a really good job, and there's some dishes in there. But John did a really good job planning the
and
look of the kitchen.
The fridge.
And there's the fridge, yeah.
Bar fridge.
So come on into the dining room next.
So when we bought the house, this room was actually wallpapered in paisley.
It was a Waverly, an old Waverly paisley print.
And there was no paneling, and these beams up here were all painted white. So we spent some painstaking time scraping and sanding and staining the box beams. And when we took the wallpaper out, we found a pattern underneath on the plaster of paneling that had been here at one point. So we had our carpenter match the form and create a paneled room, basically restoring what was here originally.
You'll see a lot of portrait paintings, and they're definitely members of our family, right, Matt? This table is one that we brought over from England, and it's really an old oak farmhouse table. It's a little cupped, so when we're sitting in it goes a little bit higher. The plates are a little bit higher than maybe you'd like, but it's super charming, and it's exactly the right size for here. So we just really love this table. This is a really old sideboard here. It's got two large Chinese vases on. This one was actually completely rebuilt because when it came from the Netherlands, it was shattered. So we had our restorer put that back together. Actually, John from Craig Hall did this arrangement of Old English pewter plates. If you go to England, a lot of the country houses have pewter plates like this, and so we took some inspiration from there. This is a California Impressionist painting. It's pretty moody, but we really love it because it's got such great greens, and green's a big color that we both really love. And again, we have it lit because every painting looks better when it's lit.
Another interesting thing about this, the chairs around this table is these were all slightly different because they were originally made for members of a family. So depending on their size, they had the chairs built to match.
So you'll see that there's sort of some shorter and some wider than others. When we first walked in, we had to look beyond really years and years of sort of upgrades, right? So 1970s, 1960s upgrades. So there were a lot of louver panel doors. There was a drop ceiling. There were
painted wood.
All the wood was painted, a lot of mauve carpet. But, you know, we walked into this house and we actually really loved it. As soon as we walked in, and I guess we've always had the problem of having some vision around homes. So we absolutely loved it. We felt right at home right away, and we were super excited to get the house.
It had a really warm feeling to it, and you know, for as old as the house is, it had a very modern feel as well in terms of the openness. The only problem was we were a little bit nervous about all the work that we were going to have to do to get it up to snuff.
And we're still doing it.
Yeah, I think our carpenter came through and he said, I'm going to be working for the rest of my life on this house.
Until he retires, which maybe he's close to doing, we'll see.
Yeah. I think what we tried to do is to kind of bring it back to where it was, so like the paneling that was put back in and stripping the wood and staining it, trying to give it that original look, get rid of anything that was vinyl or aluminum or plastic, you know, 60s, 70s stuff. And get rid of all that, and kind of bring it back to more of a natural look.
Well, it's an arts and crafts house, right? So it's a bungalow, and maybe the natural thing to do would have been to do arts and crafts, but obviously that's not really me. My interest is in English antiques, so it really kind of obviously fits well together. Okay, we'd love to show you the primary bedroom, so follow us. Okay, so this is our primary bedroom. When we bought the house, this was one of the pink rooms with the pink carpet, I think.
And pink walls, and it had painted light green wood.
So we
pink and green.
Yeah, so
90s.
We made some pretty big changes throughout here, but you know, one of the things that I love is sort of this collection of antique Chinese blue and white porcelain, which is something that I'm very interested in right now. And then this bed is pretty interesting, right? Because we had it made in England, so it looks antique. It's made out of oak, and we actually had sent this bowl and said that we really wanted this bed to be this color. So the guys over in England, I think, did a great job matching it, and we're super pleased with it.
I just want the Scrooge curtains for this, but.
Yeah, so this is an old English court cupboard made out of oak, and on top I've got Chinese blue and white porcelain that I've been collecting for a few years now. You can see different sizes of vases. This one is a particularly old one. It's an old cash pot, and I just love the quality of the porcelain and the look of the blue and white. I think is just beautiful. We love the different horns and antlers from deer. It sort of follows along a really distinct culture around hunting in England, and they decorate a lot of their homes with the antlers, and so we've done the same thing.
Yeah, when we go to England, we go to some of these manor homes like Haddon Hall, which is very much was a hunting lodge at one point in its history, and so very wood oak and antlers, and very cool.
So we go to England about once or twice a year, and really we kind of head to the north of England, and one of our favorite things to do is to visit the country houses. So places like Chatsworth, Haddon Hall that Matt had mentioned earlier, and we love going through the houses. We love seeing the kitchens in particular, I think. But also get inspired by all of the furniture that's so beautiful and all over the place in all those houses.
And they also have a lot of gardens, and of course the history of the whole country. And then we've made friends there, so we do visit with them and tour around and do some of the pubs.
These are English oak chairs that we brought over from England, and John chose the fabric on the chairs, and it's sort of another neutral that kind of blends in well with everything in the house, I think, the walls, and also these beautiful velvet curtains that John chose as well. So this is some more example of us working with a designer and probably never being able to make that decision, at least either one of us. Actually, this is our Japanese maple that you'll see shortly from around our patio and back. And so these are just some branches from it that we brought in and put in a blue and white antique Chinese porcelain vase. I should point out something kind of funny about this tall boy is we sort of have lost the screw that goes on that, so we're working on trying to find that. But also, we're kind of okay with some of the quirkiness of furniture and age and things that happen to it over time, because it just sort of makes it real and gives it a sense of history. We sort of like to see that every once in a while. You'll also see lots of marks or rings or maybe chunks of wood missing, and to us that's all part of the process of owning antiques and part of the history of each piece.
Home, I guess, is some place where you feel safe, secure, and comfortable, and it has a warm feeling, and it's a place you always want to return to when you're out traveling. It's a cozy place, I guess.
It's also a sanctuary, right? It's a place to kind of unwind and to really surround yourself with the memories and some of the things that you appreciate. So let's go into the primary bathroom. Why don't you follow me? So on the way to the bathroom, we have this little, and also another chance for some art and furniture.
This was the study, which was just filled with a lot of Brad's things, collections, and we eventually were able to put in a master bath. And some of the features, we have two different vanities here. This stone here is Nero Portero marble, which our designer found. You see it in a lot of old buildings in Detroit, really a pretty unique marble. Brad also found a table that we had cut in half, and those two halves serve as the base for both vanity. I don't know how old is the table?
They're old, like 18th century English oak. It was a single table that we had cut in half, like Matt said. There was no top left, so that sort of was an okay sign for me to actually cut them in half, because it would be very painful for me to cut something that was in good shape in half. So that was sort of a perfect thing to do. I should say also, John, our designer, really pushed to make this our primary bath from the study, and I was very resistant at first because I didn't want to lose a place for more furniture, my books, more art, but honestly, he said that you'll use this more than any other room in the house, and he was absolutely right about this. So I'm so pleased that we did this, and really he perfectly centered the shower so that you can look out the window into the garden, and it's really a beautiful view in the morning. We absolutely love it. I think one of the most beautiful things about this bathroom is the wall paneling, and John designed the placement of every single panel in here. The color is really beautiful. It's Benjamin Moore ancient ivory, and so we really painted everything. The primary closet is that color as well. John also laid out the floor. This is really just your typical landscape outdoor bluestone. But it makes a really beautiful, very durable floor. It's heated, so in the wintertime it's really cozy in here. The other thing that we did was we used some actual picture frame to go around this mirror, which is medicine cabinet, and that was a really fun thing to pick out. There's also a picture light above the medicine cabinets, which really give a nice soft glow and kind of just the perfect down light. So I think you always think you look great. We kind of went back and forth over what we wanted to do with this shower, but ended up really deciding to just do marble throughout. There's some nice cubbies in there. The floor is heated in the shower as well, which really helps to dry it, and when you're stepping on it, it actually is never cold, which is kind of nice too. There's also another sort of gang of switches here in unlacquered brass that we had made, and they're listed, and maybe you can't see it that well, but John's very big on electrical plans, which I never really thought about until we were doing this renovation. But he's got dimmers in all the right places. When you leave a room, you can actually turn off anything that you didn't turn off when you were in the room, which I think is a great feature.
And the heated towel.
The heated towel bar we had here, which was unlacquered brass, which at the time was impossible to find. It's not so much about having a warm towel to dry yourself, but it also just dries the towel quicker so they actually stay fresher over time, which I think is a really cool thing.
Now we'd love to show you our patio. Follow us.
So now we'll take you on a tour of our garden. I think probably the first and one of the things we're excited to show is actually this climbing rose on the back of the house. It's called John Davis, and it's an English, your typical English rose. It's absolutely covered in flowers when it blooms. It only blooms once though, which is sort of the downside, but it's very worth it to us because the spring show is so spectacular. So then over here is our pond. So when I talk about the value that John brought to the design of the back, is we were thinking something much smaller, but he really wanted to do this 16-foot long pond. It's 4 feet deep on one end and 3 feet on the other. So the fish do stay out all winter long and they just sort of hang out. There's probably about 15 fish. And there's a few really large ones, about 2 feet long. We've named those fish
Milo.
That's the orange and white one. And then Jefferson is orange and white and black, and he's big too. And then this is one of our perennial borders that originally we had a hydrangea back here, and we did that as per our plan. But then Matt and I are really more kind of plantsmen, so we love the individual plants and we love really all plants. So we took out the hydrangea and put in a perennial bed here, which we've been weeding and tending to for a number of years now.
One of the things about the pond, we actually did all the engineering and design of the water flow, which goes out that end and into the basement to a commercial filtration system, a bubble bead filter that Brad did some research on. And then the water then comes back through this end, so it keeps a continuous movement and filtration and healthy water quality.
You'll notice there's 3 pink roses in here. We saw them at the nursery, and our favorite nursery is Telly's in Troy, and there wasn't a name for them, so we went ahead and bought them anyhow because they had such a beautiful pink flower on them. And we call it the Matty Rose after Matt because he was the one who actually picked it out. And it's proven to be absolutely beautiful and blooms tremendously kind of all summer long. And I really wish I knew the name of it. So if anyone out there knows it, I'd love to.
I like the name. So one of the things we did was plant a lot of boxwood, as you can see. I don't know, there's probably hundreds of them here. They were very, very tiny when we bought them. Now they've grown. And we also planted these Alaskan weeping cedars, which have gotten really, really big. We did clear a lot of kind of the brush that was here and put in a lot of the stuff ourselves.
The view that we wanted though from the bedroom was really out at these Alaskan weeping cedars because they just have such a sort of romantic look to them. We planted a lot of peonies. This is about the only one that is still blooming, so it's kind of time for us to take all the old peonies out and put something in that'll be a little bit happier. So this is a big olive oil pot that we actually just put in here about a week ago. We were looking for sort of just the right thing that was just the right size and came across this in England, so I'm super excited to have it here. I think it adds a lot to really the end of the pond, which, you know, it's important when you're gardening and when you're designing landscape to have focal points and a place to go to, and we've tried to do that here. We've made this also into a perennial border where we sort of put in peonies, roses, there's garden phlox, there's asters, and then also some sort of natural native plants across the back, including Joe Pye and cut flower. But we punctuated the beds with these viridis yews, which are these upright yews that grow kind of in this very beautiful sculptural shape. One of the other things that we love is nature. We love backyard birds, and one of the best things to do to bring birds in, to put in bird baths, because water is super important to the birds. We also sort of did a little copper pipe off one of our drip hoses, so when that zone runs, it also fills the bird bath up. So that helps kind of keep it filled. We also, to avoid mosquitoes, we have these little all-natural mosquito bio thingies. We put this yew hedge in to kind of stop the view, but also to have a background of green in order to show off our geraniums. And then we had a little opening spot made so that we can put so this is a little bit of a sort of a secret area where we've got ferns and trillium. We planted hemlock really early on in the work here. And so it's a very green and very cool space that we really love.
Yeah, we've tried to plant some Japanese ferns, and also these are trillium, which is a Michigan wildflower that grows up in the woods in Michigan. So we put a bunch of them under here to see if we can get them.
To sort of continue on with the yew hedge, we are letting this section on each side grow so we can do an archway, sort of a living archway over each entryway here and on that. So this is our patio. So this is where we do a lot of our summer entertaining and have cookouts. These are Japanese maple trees that are the ones that we cut some to go into that vase in the primary bedroom. And these are really, they grow like weeds. So we're constantly having to prune them, but they have a really open, airy, and beautiful feel to them. And they're really the right choice, I think, for our patio. We absolutely love them. And they turn a really great orange in
beautiful color
in the
fall.
autumn time. Yeah. So that's sort of an added bonus.
Yeah. This is my bell. Oh.
So this is a restoration hardware table that I don't think is made anymore, but it has, it's teak and it's got a Chippendale fretwork back. John, our designer, really pushed for us to grab it when we saw it because he, for some reason, knew that it was going to stop being made, and it's really the perfect set for out here.
And one thing I started to collect are these citrus trees. These are bear's lime. A friend of mine in California had them growing crazy, so I had to go online and find them and see if I could grow them here in Michigan. They've been in our sunroom over the winter, and we got some limes for gin and tonic.
All right, this has been a lot of fun, but it's actually time to go to work. So why don't we head over to the Parsons Nose warehouse. Welcome to the Parsons Nose Antiques. This is our warehouse, and I'd like to take you on a tour. This is our big warehouse that we unload the containers because we bring everything over from England in 20-foot or 40-foot containers, and we do about 10 a year. We don't have a retail shop yet, so everything we sell online through Instagram. We're quite active on Instagram, and we have a great website. So let's take this tour. So you'll notice a lot of furniture in rows and different configurations. We have this section over here where items that we've sold are leaving to go to different parts of the country. So once something gets photographed and is online and sells, we move it into here, waiting for our teams. This is one of my favorite pieces we have right now. It's a bow front chest of drawers. It's made out of mahogany, and it's unusual because it's pretty big. It's got really nice black handles, big generous drawers, which is always nice, bone escutcheons, and a kind of a really cool shaped apron down in the front. I've always been a collector of antiques, of furniture, of paintings, and I got started because I'm such an Anglophile, and I wanted to start importing English antiques and making them available to everybody in general. But the thing that I knew I wanted to do was to do it all online. So we go over to England about 2-3 times a year and source all of these amazing pieces that we bring back, and we're really excited about where the business is going. I've said that we don't have a shop yet, but we are planning on opening a shop in Charlevoix, Michigan sometime this summer. So this big piece on the wall is a French barrel back housekeeper's cupboard. So it's, I don't know, probably what, 9 feet tall, but I really love it. It's got a really beautiful color pine, and let's see if we can get the doors open. It's always a little dangerous, never knowing exactly what's in there. But I think it's a pretty impressive piece. I really like that. And also these rhubarb forcers, which are pretty interesting because what you do is you place it over the rhubarb as it's starting to grow, and the plant reaches for the light, and in the meantime creates very long and somewhat pale stalks that have more flavor and are really more tender and easier to cook with. So rhubarb forcers. So one of my other favorite pieces is this painted blue pine linen press. It's got, let's see if I can get it open, shelves up on the top, which are really useful, and then drawers, a little loose, but drawers on the bottom half. So, and I think the color is just really, really cool. It's kind of like a, I don't know, a really light blue, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say robin's egg, but not quite.
And some of the other detail, I mean, the grain on these knobs and then this inlay, you just don't get that on newer pieces of furniture.
Another piece I think is pretty cool is this ebonized pine English chest of drawers. I just love the color. I think it's black's kind of a neutral, right, sometimes, and it's got beautiful wear. And it's just a really useful piece of furniture. We sell a lot of chest of drawers. This one probably not so much for a changing table, but we do sell a lot of them for changing tables for nurseries. So it's always a good piece to have. So this is a different warehouse. It's the first warehouse we got. Actually, the warehouse that we were just in, or the warehouse next door, is our second warehouse. But this one has a few special things about it. It's got our photograph wall. So this is the wall that we take all of our photographs against, as well as the rug. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably be very familiar, very comfortable with what you're seeing here. But you know, we only usually show enough to show off the piece of furniture, but you get to see everything kind of behind the scenes here. So this is what we call a Welsh dresser. Usually Americans call a chest of drawers a dresser, but in England they don't. They call this piece of furniture a dresser. And it was intended to be in your kitchen or maybe in your cottage dining room. And if you remember our kitchen, we have one as well. But it holds a ton of plates, a ton of mugs, and anything else you might need. And I love this one because of the color. It's a really pretty sort of bleached pine almost, although it's not been bleached. It's really light. And then I'm just a sucker for these big chunky knobs on all the furniture. I just love it. This is the workshop area that we repair anything that maybe had a little trouble coming over the pond from England. Really everything gets waxed, maybe touched up a little bit with paint perhaps, but this is really an important part of really being an antique dealer because you're also a furniture repairman. That's just kind of how it is. All right, so this is my actual office, and if you follow me on Instagram, this is often where I'm sitting posting or creating the reels and trying to do something interesting for both you and me. But I love this office because it's filled with pine, and my house is all dark oak, so it's a nice change. This French birdcage against the wall here, I really love, and it's got just a great look to it. And also I love this pine cabinet, which I put a lot of my books in and some antiques and other pieces. And then this is kind of my messy desk where I sit and spend a lot of my time.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Louise Campbell. Welcome to my home in Greenville, South Carolina. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Louise Campbell. I'm an interior designer. Welcome to my home in Greenville, South Carolina. We started looking for a home. We had lived in a condo right after we got married, and we started looking for a home as we started to want to grow our family, and started looking at different houses, and we're really just drawn to this one. It was built in the 60s and had a lot of character, but had also had updates done to it throughout the years where it didn't feel like a huge undertaking. And so when we moved in, we were really drawn to things like, we're really close to Furman University where we live, and the house had been constructed with brick from a dining hall that they had taken down. So we loved that there was this interest with the architecture in that way, and the neighborhood was full of old Furman alumni, and it just felt like a real community here. It's also really close to the mountains, and so we can be at state parks and on trails on the weekends, and so we really loved the location and the architecture of the house in that way. And then also just we're really drawn to the scale of it. It was big enough but not too big, and it had updates done to it that we were able to build upon and not feel like we were starting with a blank slate. The home it's a split level house, but it kind of toes the line. It has like some elements that feel a little bit more mid-century, like because it was built in the 60s, and the neighborhood has some more mid-century homes. And then it also kind of toes the line with cottagey, and I think that's where my personal style lies. It's a culmination of a lot of different things. So I really liked that the house kind of could lean different ways, but also take on furniture from different periods and kind of become a palette for a lot of different things to be layered on top of it. So this space has been something that has just like transformed the way we live. It used to be a screen porch. We decided when we were having our second baby to transform the space into a more livable space for every day. And we put windows in. We kind of kept the footprint of it. The ceiling's the same. We added in V-groove along the base and just all the walls to really give it this kind of camp cabin-y feel that I love, and put in big windows that let a lot of light in. The furniture in here is just kind of to maximize lounging space. This is really the space that we spend the most time in, watching TV and entertaining friends. Some of my favorite lamps that I have are these flower lamps, and so they kind of were a jumping off point for the palette in here, and have just layered in like colors that feel happy, and it's a great space to spend time with the family. So this sofa is from one of our favorite vendors that we use in our design work a lot, Coley Home. And so it's like a really great linen stripe that I think adds like a nice casualness to the space. I love the coast, and I love the beach, and I love anything that feels that way, even though we're 3 or 4 hours from the coast. Anytime I can make our house feel a little bit more beachy, I'm into that. So I love the stripe on this. I think it has like a real casual nature out here. And then this sofa here was a client, and they were getting rid of it when we were working on their space, and I just fell in love with it and brought it home. And it's moved around we've had it since before we lived in this house, and it has just always been one of my favorite things. This little piece here is from an artist in Greenville, Eva McGill-Oliver, and Kevin and Lula went to one of our favorite galleries, Art and Light, and picked it out for me one Christmas. And I just love kind of taking unexpected areas and hanging art pieces, and this room doesn't lend itself to be super symmetrical anyways, so I think when you just kind of lean in on that and hang something in kind of an unexpected place, it just makes it obvious that you weren't trying to make it symmetrical and didn't quite get there. The ottoman is just something from online that I ordered, and then I had our seamstress make a slipcover that I could easily throw into the wash, and it's the one place that our kids are allowed to eat in here, and they have little picnics on the ottoman all the time. The disco ball is one of my favorite things, and something that people really love, a little unexpected moment. We hung that up for a party one time, and it was kind of hung down. We had a dining table out here for the party, and then the way that the light comes in here in the morning and hits that is just magical, and it's such a fun way to have coffee or tea in here and have little pings of light around the space, and it is really fun and magical. So the ceiling was done when the former owner lived at the house, and she made this a screen porch. And so I kind of toyed with like, was I going to paint it when we did this room, and just love like the coziness that it adds, this little touch of wood. I love bringing in as much vintage as possible. So, and I think color on vintage items is a really fun way to like bring in intentional color and kind of unexpected color. So this blue lamp I found at a vintage shop in Greenville, and then this green and red is, you know, traditionally a color scheme that is Christmassy, but it's one of my favorite color schemes to play with. So I loved this little moment of this unexpected table, this folk art, and can just love when you have a piece like that and can imagine somebody cutting out that wonky shape at some point and making a table. And then this is like one of my favorite items that we have. It's moved around. It's been in our bedroom. It's been everywhere. And it is just kind of a favorite seat within the house. This artwork is from Susan Melrath. She, again, is at Art and Light Gallery, and I found that right before we had our second baby. So this is our dining area and study. So for a long time before we had the sunroom, this was our main living area. It took me a really long time. It's hard to admit defeat as a designer, but it took me a really long time to kind of figure out how to use this space. And so finally with the study, we created a kind of round circular conversation area where we play games and read books, and made it just kind of embrace the coziness of the space because it doesn't get great lighting. And so then because this did create kind of a thoroughfare, I love whenever you can do a banquette and kind of pull your dining space over and not have wasted space behind chairs that feels awkward to kind of tuck in behind a table. So we are not super formal people. We're pretty casual, and even, you know, our Thanksgiving table tends to have a level of casualness to it. So we embrace like the banquette. It's a really fun place to kind of linger after dinner with friends, or we sit here and do homework. My 6-year-old often has this set up as her office and has an old computer that I gave her and paperwork everywhere. This wall has absorbed some of my favorite artwork that we've collected over the years, but it's all anchored by, again, a piece that Lula did. I got an old canvas and added some texture to it and painted it white, and then kind of let her go to town with some colors that were kind of reminiscent, like, or represented around our house. So I love that piece so much, and remember the day when she made it in our driveway, and it is one of the most special things in our house, I think. So we took that and kind of took the color scheme of that and built gallery off of it with pieces that we've collected over the years. And it's just one of my favorite moments. We've really embraced how cozy it is in here, and I love that. So with like the casual nature of this space and needing it to kind of host Thanksgiving, but also be somewhere that we're enjoying every day because it is our only dining space in the house, I loved these vintage chairs that I found at Rock House Antiques in Greenville, and love that they are really easy for my children to it's not a ton of upholstery when we have the banquette that could lend itself to stains. And then this bowl from our friend Lisa in New Orleans, she made that, and it's such a fun, like, kind of wonky pottery piece that we keep oranges in all the time. I love whenever we can just keep fruit around the house at easily accessible for the kids. And the table was just something we found at High Point at Market, and I love like the architecture of the legs. On this side of the room, this is what we currently call our study. For many years, this was our living room, and we had a sofa here, and then we had a sofa here, and we like had a really hard time trying to figure out how to lay it out and make it feel natural. Nothing in this space is symmetrical or, you know, vaguely lined up with anything else. So being able to have the use of the sunroom for our kind of everyday living space allowed us to really embrace the coziness of these two spaces and lean into texture and creating a cozier atmosphere. We have this round table here that the kids often are doing crafts on or coloring, and really this is where we sit and read books more than anything with the kids. And then we have a little game table that Kevin and I like to play dominoes sometimes, or we'll host friends there, and have our bar and our record player. One of the first things we did when we moved into the house was this was just kind of cabinetry on the bottom, and then it had just kind of a void here. And because I'm a collector of little things, I needed somewhere to have books and little collections. So we had these shelves put in, I wallpapered the backs, and because our house, we really don't have a ton of trim work. We have one color kind of throughout most of our walls, and it's all Benjamin Moore Simply White. And so I liked the idea of adding in this wallpaper that has the white, but also adds in another light hue that kind of just adds some texture to the back of these bookcases. And then it houses a lot of my design books, and for years, Kevin would get me dog figurines for any kind of special event. He would find them at vintage shops in Greenville. And it was just kind of this fun go-to gift that we always got to see like what he would find. And it was this cute thing. It got a little out of hand and we had to stop doing it because I was turning into, the collection was getting too big. But so we have a lot of dog figurines and I love them, even though currently we don't have a dog. It's still a huge part of our personality. So this bar is a piece that I found in Round Top on a buying trip with my team. We thought we'd use it as a desk potentially in our bedroom, and then ended up it was a little bit low for that, so we've made a bar here, and it's a fun place to just create an atmosphere in here that feels really cozy. Everybody can just kind of make their own drinks, and we'll typically have an ice bucket out, and it's just a great space for entertaining. And then this piece here is one of my favorite art pieces that we have. I commissioned this probably like 10 years ago now from my friend Glory. It's of our dog, and it just is this really bright, happy piece that I think kind of is an interesting pop in this room that is a little bit more monotone. These pieces here are from Diane Kilgore Condon in Greenville, and they're one of my favorite kind of design hacks. Like whenever you have a wall that needs like a little bit of movement to it, like we, in our design work a lot, we'll do walls of these birds, and they're just kind of a fun way to add some movement to a space. And then for the space, like we just really loved the idea of bringing in texture with the chairs and not having a lot of upholstery in here. So we brought in 4 of these matching chairs to create kind of a circular conversation area. We pull them up closer, like when we're doing puzzles with the kids, and then kind of embrace this kind of creamy yellow color scheme. So went with this fabric on the pillows, and then this fabric is from a collaboration I did with Meredith Walker, an artist out of Columbia, South Carolina. We did a little fabric line last year, and that was really fun to do something different creatively and kind of come up with our own textiles. So it's fun to have those here and remember that. So when we did the kitchen renovation, we added this bar to kind of, this wall had always felt kind of flat and had this just rectangle cut in it that was there before we moved in, and we wanted to add some architectural element to it and something that had a little bit more interest. So we brought a bar out, and there's been times like with different room setups, we've had bar stools here and would open up these shutters and have it be somewhere where we could kind of have friends over here while we're making dinner and have it really be conversational. But in this iteration of the room, we had a carpenter build a bookshelf that just kind of slid under there, and this is where all the kids' books live. And so it just really embraces that kind of library feeling. These shutters were something that I found at Wilson Girls, a great vintage shop in Greenville, and they just happened to fit it perfectly, and I loved the kind of light that they let through, but it allows us to kind of open up to the kitchen when we want to and close it off, make it feel like 2 different spaces. And then one of my favorite things that we have framed are these are Lula, our 6-year-old's little first Converses that she wore. And it's just a fun moment to remember her little spunky personality starting to come out with her bright pink Converses. So I love the casualness of kind of plug-in sconces thrown throughout a space. And because we haven't done one big renovation, we haven't had the opportunity to really like insert in a lot of purposeful lighting in that way. So I think it's fun for me just to kind of change spaces and add in like this plug-in sconce, and then this is just a shell mirror that I found at a vintage shop and kind of taped this photo to on a whim when I was working on things one day. And I just love that kind of casual moment of one of my favorite photos of Kevin with Lula. We've definitely done several renovations, but it was nice because the house was kind of move-in ready when we got here, and we could do things like just paint. And then I really have loved the opportunity to take on like one room at a time. And with this being my profession, we help clients undergo huge renovations all the time. But for myself, I think I like to take one space at a time and treat it a little bit slower and kind of see what season of life we're in. Like the sunroom was something we did right before we had our second baby, and she was due in December, and I just was obsessed with making sure we had like a sunny spot to have this December baby to offset the baby blues. And so we kind of just took a space that was formerly a screen porch and decided to make it what we needed at the time. And it's been really nice just to kind of let the house evolve and grow with us. And I think that our houses kind of call for different things in different seasons of life. So we've taken on a kitchen renovation, and we've taken on a laundry room and bathrooms, and really at this point touched every part of the house. But it was nice to have a blank slate that we could move into that didn't require a gut job right from the get-go. So this is the kitchen, and we renovated the space probably 3 years ago now. When we moved in, we kind of had these grand plans of moving it around, and we were going to do a bigger kitchen on the back of the house. And then after we lived here, we just really kind of enjoyed the smaller space. We're not huge cooks, so we've never really felt like we needed a huge kitchen. And so we just decided to embrace the space that allowed us to go ahead and do the kitchen instead of like continuing to wait to do this really big renovation. And so we tried to do it kind of creatively. We knew that we wanted to do custom cabinetry just so that we could make use of every inch of the space in the best way. So we did things like we did custom cabinets to kind of accommodate small appliances, and then worked in this big stainless steel work table that takes up a lot of square footage that could have been a really big piece of the budget if done and with custom cabinetry, but we were able to kind of balance things that way. So I love having a sofa in the kitchen, and this is definitely where everyone kind of covets, where we all want to be in the morning, especially. The light's really great when the leaves aren't on the trees. And so this little vintage sofa, I found like this vintage fabric and decided to pipe it in a fun kind of contrast color, and then put in these poppy pillows that have a little bit, I love like a gingham in a kitchen. And so we all really love to spend time here. And then this again, like with our dog collections, this has been something that's evolved over time, and we've collected different dog art, and I love kind of having it all together here at our spot where we drop keys and mail and that kind of thing. With the kitchen, I love kind of the classic nature of like a white kitchen with butcher block countertops and stainless steel appliances. So we opted to do that. This really big sink has been great, and I love that the washboard like kind of goes all the way back, so it just is really clean and easy to take care of. We worked in this just kind of furniture piece here. It's really nice to be able to kind of move out of the way if we need to just have a little bit more working space where we can prep, but it also is a great place to dry dishes or kind of congregate, and we'll have a chopping block there sometimes. So it's just, I love a space that can kind of like work differently in different times, and when you need it to do different things, it can change. We have bar stools that are really great. They're just outdoor bar stools, so this is one of the main places that the kids eat, and it's nice just to not have to worry about fabric or anything like that. And then the stove, like when we were working within the space and knowing that it was going to be a small kitchen, we opted to do a 24-inch range, and that was probably the thing that I got the most pushback on when we were doing the kitchen, was if that was going to be workable. But pasta is kind of the only thing that I cook or know how to cook, and I don't ever plan to try to put a turkey in there. So it's worked out perfectly well for our family, and I like that we have a lot more counter space opposed to taking up a lot of space with a range that we personally wouldn't use that much. When we were doing the kitchen, one, because it's like open to other spaces of the house, we were kind of forced to like pull the white throughout. But I also love that it's given me this kind of canvas for collections, and we did things like open shelving in a lot of areas because I love like being really intentional about having beautiful things. And I think having a kitchen with a lot of open storage has made me be intentional about cookware that I like to look at and dishes, and not holding on to like that fry pan that you've had since college just because you like have it around. It made us be really intentional about the things that we have in the space and wanting to be things that we think are beautiful and want to see every day. At a young age, I became interested in interior design and really became obsessed with the idea that even like within my own room, I could create an environment that was exactly what I wanted it to be. And whether that was, you know, painting the walls or getting a new comforter or whatever, like the smallest moment was, it was like the space that I could control the environment of. And that was really just impactful as even a kid to kind of create these environments and be able to be in control of how it felt, and became just obsessed with that idea on a grander scale and made it a profession. My design style, we use a lot of color, we use a lot of local art within our work, and my personal style definitely reflects that also. I think within our home, like I've wanted to create a kind of blank canvas that these things can be layered on top of and can change like as I collect more art or different art, and can kind of change throughout time. So this is our mudroom, and when we did our kitchen renovation, we kind of took this space at the same time, and we were able to use our old kitchen cabinets to create cabinetry out here that gave us the space that I use it as a potting bench. And then when we have parties, we fill the sink with ice, and we have, you know, food and bar set up here. Before, this space was just a 2-car garage, and so when we did the kitchen renovation, we were just always like frustrated that we park in the driveway, we walk through, and it was just always kind of a disaster. You're walking through a garage with cars and all the junk from your kids and all the things. So we decided to take the kitchen cabinets. We had a carpenter build out more cabinetry. We brought in things like this is just a bookshelf that we had our painter paint the same color as everything else, so it had more of a custom feel. And so this space has by far been the biggest transformation in like the way that we live our daily lives. It has given us a space that like my kids do crafts out here. We do things, like I said, like pot plants, and it's been a game changer. So we filled the space with one big rug and made it feel really homey, but also really workable and can do a lot of things. These are really great. They're called snowshoe chairs. They were made in Vermont, and I got these from my friend Michael, who owns an awesome vintage store here in Greenville. It's called Artifacts, and they, I just loved them when we found them. My husband really liked them too. And so they have been so awesome that we keep them hung up. And when the kids want to play on the ground, we pull them down for our old parent bodies that need help not sitting on the ground all the time. So they're really fun, and they add a little bit of texture to the walls, and they're great. So the wall color is Convivial Yellow by Sherwin-Williams. It's the same color that is in our sunroom. And we played around, like I thought I was gonna wanna do something different out here, but we actually just had this repainted not too long ago. It was white before. I thought I was gonna maybe go dark or moody, but we have just loved that bright yellow color so much. And it is such a happy way to start the day. So we decided just to pull it out here too. I also went to Nikki Kehoe's showroom in New York not too long ago, and I loved like how everything was just painted the same hue of butter yellow. And so we kind of copied that a little bit on the lights up here. We just ordered like the same white enamel light, and then had our painter spray everything the same, so it's really cohesive and feels a lot more like custom than it is. On this side of the room, we, again, like this was some cabinetry that was in our kitchen when we demoed the existing kitchen in the space. So we worked that in, and then had a carpenter build these big kind of locker style cabinets on each side of it. And this was all the junk that used to be in our garage on like open shelving. So now we walk in and it's all neatly tucked away. Like this is full of my 6-year-old's art supplies. And if I opened it, it would probably be an explosion of like glitter and markers. And then we have like pet items and paint in one and stuff like that. So it's just been a really great way to give us the space to hold all of those items that you accumulate and pile up in garages. When we did the space, we had like this old door from our renovation, and I had our carpenter put legs on it and make it this countertop table that I later made a table skirt for. So this just pops off, and like the whole top of this table is covered in paint, and my kids can craft out here, and we have stools that go under it. And so it's really great that we can dress it up when we want to entertain or have the space feel more put together. But it can also, this room can really be very utilitarian. Found some great vintage sconces out here and a big mirror to kind of dress up the space, like I was saying, and make it feel like it can really toe the line between a lot of different ways that we like to use it. This piece here is one of my favorite things that Lula, our 6-year-old, ever created. I was kind of messing around with painting myself one day and had prepped this canvas, and she wanted to join me. So she ended up, I had the palette kind of picked, which was a nice like hack for kids art of choosing the palette for them. And then she did her thing, and it's just really fun remembrance of like her being this sweet little like 2-year-old who wanted to join me in my creative endeavors. And now I'll show you the garden. And this is our courtyard. So when we did the renovation of the mudroom, this used to be just kind of a 16-foot garage bay. And we took it and we put in a single car garage door, and then we came in with a window and a door to create more of this moment of entry for friends. And this is how we enter the house all the time. We also added this little porch onto the space so that it felt much more welcoming than just kind of the chopped off side of your house that just has a huge garage door. And then this space is really great. Like, I have this collection of kind of vintage furniture that we've collected over the years, and we love to hang out here with friends from the neighborhood or just friends with kids and stuff. And the driveway is such a fun place for the kids to play with sidewalk chalk or like ride cars and stuff like that. So it's just been a really fun, entertaining space that we've embraced and made work for us. The lady who lived here before, Miss Mary, had been a master gardener, and she had really taken a lot of great care in the yard, but had gotten older, and all the shrubs were really overgrown, and it just wasn't as fresh as we wanted it. So we kind of undertake taking it down and getting it back to a starting point. And then I kind of became obsessed with YouTube gardening shows and tried to take it on myself over the next couple of years. I originally called in my friend Tessa Penner, who was working with Dabney Peoples, who's a wonderful garden designer in Greenville, and they ended up coming in and helping us with some plans for the space that we executed a little bit over time on our own. And then finally this past summer, we brought in, Corey Golding helped us bring it all together, and we brought it down to scratch and added in a really nice just kind of base for creating the garden out front. So we added in a couple years ago this garden gate, and then it enters into a courtyard that has just been a really sweet place to entertain friends and neighbors. So within the garden design, we really wanted to incorporate the swing, but we have 2 kids now, so we needed like something that felt a little bit more like a play space. So we've added in a slide, and we have this, and it's just been, like I said, this really great place to spend time with friends in the neighborhood. And so we have like a little garden area back there with some raised beds, and then you can see the architecture of the home more. This is the brick I love so much. It was part of Furman University's old dining hall, and so the character of the outside just has so much charm because of that, and then kind of like has a real cottagey look with the new landscaping. So this tree was one of our favorite things when we first saw the house. We saw the house in April, and the dogwood tree was blooming, and it just felt like this really special moment. And then it's kind of been this marker for our family where lots of special events, the dogwood tree has been blooming. So it's been kind of this iconography that we've attached to as a family, and have adopted the dogwood leaf and the dogwood symbol as just something that means a lot to our family. Historically, dog person has been a huge part of my personality for years, and we have tons of dog art and dog figurines, and had a precious like yellow lab beagle mix for years. And would have told you until 6 months ago I was pretty like anti-cat. And then 6 months ago, lady showed up at our house and was getting rounder by the day. And I was very much in denial that it meant that babies were coming. And one day came home and we had 6 kittens. So this summer has been full of cats, and an altercation in my personality that I didn't see coming, and we're very much cat people now. So this is Lady. This is one of our favorite entertaining spaces. This is our back patio, and we often will have dinner parties out here, and we have these kind of galvanized tubs, water troughs that we have on these rolling carts so we can kind of move them around. We've had them planted with different things like over the years, and recently the thing I had them in them did not like all the sun that this space gets, so they all died. And so I had my husband cut some bamboo off of his parents' property, and we're getting ready for a dinner party. So I really love just like how cozy it's gonna feel out here, especially at nighttime. It's gonna feel like you're in just a little outdoor room. We have these two tables that we can kind of move around the space, and if we want to set up separate dining areas or pull them out all together, we can. But it's nice to kind of create one long table that we can entertain friends, and it's just a fun spot for that. So this space was really fun. We did this when our first was young, and we did this stock tank pool that is just really great for toddlers and a fun spot where she can play, and now our second is enjoying it a lot. I definitely want friends and family to feel like they've received a warm hug when they walk in. I think we really try to create an environment that is full of like showing off our personalities, and I love to have kids' art everywhere and things that just kind of show who lives here, and I think that we've created a really warm environment that people want to hang out at and enjoy with us. So this is the entryway where, you know, when we're entertaining a little bit more formally, guests would come in, and it kind of enters off of our front garden. We have just a table here, and then I have a mirror that I found at a consignment store, and it had this really fun canvas inset. It had like parrots painted on it, which wasn't as much my thing. So I had my friend Jean Wilson Freeman paint dogwood flowers on it, just because that means a lot to us as a family. And so it's kind of a special moment that sets the tone for this space. And we recently wallpapered in here just this really kind of soft, happy yellow and white pattern. And I love what it's done for the space. There's been times where I've had all the walls galleried with artwork and still have a lot that we haven't put back up, but I'm just kind of enjoying it being this soft, calm moment to enter, and then kind of dispersing out to areas that have like more collections and more gallery walls. So it's been nice. This railing we did this year, we did have just kind of the original railing to the house, and it was metal and it was fun, but I really wanted something with some more character. And so we had a carpenter do little dogwood flower cutouts in these balusters, and then we painted all the flooring so that it really felt bright and happy in here, because it is one of the darker spots in our house. It's just a fun place where we kind of will tack up kids' artwork and family photos, and like it to be somewhere where you enter the house, you kind of see what you're getting with the rest of the space and kind of get a feel for who we are and what our house is like. This year, our team, we came up with a signature candle, because I think scent is like such a huge part of the feeling of home and creating an environment. So we have our own Amanda Louise Interiors candle now that I'm really proud of. And so I always have that burning and kind of setting the tone for the house. So the ceiling light is something that I really love. It came out of my friend Michael's house, and him and his partner were in debate about it, and Scott really hated it and Michael really loved it, and so I'm just really glad to keep it living on and being in our space. It's a really special thing to have something from their house. And the trim colors, we've got this is Sherwin-Williams Antiquity on the door. We really love I really love greens and kind of the mixture of all different shades of them. So the Antiquity is on the door, and then on the railing we have Benjamin Moore Mediterranean Olive, which is our trim color kind of throughout the exterior of the house. And so it was just kind of a nice connective piece to bring in and have that color scheme repeated. So this is our main bedroom, and before we moved in, the former owner had kind of taken 2 bedrooms and made it 1 large main suite, or large bedroom, still a tiny bathroom, but large bedroom. And so we have kind of had it set up in different ways. Our bed used to be on this wall. And then when we were having our second baby, we really wanted a close proximity nursery. So we ended up taking our walk-in closet and creating a nursery out of that, and then adding in this wardrobe style closet for me, which has been really nice. I like to kind of see everything at once, and it's been great to have it right next to the bathroom. It used to be kind of on the opposite side of the room, and the flow of the space wasn't great. So we brought in IKEA dressers and had a carpenter just kind of put those together in a way. We were doing this real fast before we had a baby, as I kind of figured out what we needed to change about the space, and I was in full nesting mode. And so Kevin and I, on a weekend, we put up shelving, and then I had our seamstress do curtains and this little valance to make it feel kind of cabana-y and feel like a retail store in a way. So I have loved that, and I love like seeing the color and the pattern of clothes that I love. So the bed was something that we ordered, just kind of a stock headboard, and had our seamstress make a slipcover for it, and then had a matching bed skirt made in I think it's discontinued now, but a clearance house fabric that we loved. And then kept bedding really simple, and love like just the pattern of a quilt. Like I love mixing stripes with everything. So I think we embraced kind of a pattern mixture there. And then the drapes are a sister parish fabric that I love, and had like I love continuing a soft buttery moment kind of throughout the whole house, and it's a nice kind of connective tissue between things. My bedside is normally covered up with collections of things and books and photos, and so it's kind of fun to have that space to lay things out and have everything we need there. So this is something that my favorite Papa, who I loved dearly, he made for my nursery. And so it's just been a piece that's always kind of been part of, all of our spaces. And it's currently Kevin's closet now in the shuffle of things. This piece here is a vintage piece I found, and I love a coastal moment, and so this is kind of just a nice serene picture that I can picture myself at a little yellow beach cottage by the sea before bed every night. So off of our bedroom, we have what used to be our walk-in closet, but even before that, it had been part of an old bedroom. So it has a window in it, and it just felt like a really natural space to have this really sweet kind of tiny nursery. So we kind of took out all the shelving and made it a blank slate to then kind of figure out the best use of the space. We added in kind of a board and batten to just have it be kind of calm and peaceful, but I knew I wanted some pattern above, so added in this wallpaper and kind of let our color scheme build off of that. So we added in this canopy kind of over the bed when we were first setting it up for a newborn, and I just loved kind of being able to add in some more pattern and texture. This is one of the very first paintings that I ever purchased for myself, and it really reminds me of one of our favorite views at Edisto, an island off of South Carolina, and so that's just a really kind of fun, sweet moment to have there. We haven't always had a chair in here, but now that Perry's kind of wanting to have her own space and play in here some and read books in here, we've added in this chair. And it definitely is like a tight space, but we found it really workable and cozy. This bookshelf, again, this is a piece that my grandfather built, and we had our carpenter, when we were adding in the board and batten and kind of redefining the space, had our carpenter build it into the space and kind of build it up on a base a little bit, and then we wallpapered the back and painted it. And it's just been a fun place to kind of display little mementos and books, and also kind of use it as active storage for things like sweaters. We've had to really make the most out of how to creatively store things in here. So it's a pretty tiny bathroom for a main suite, but we have found it very workable and usable. So when we first moved in, we loved that there were some vintage plumbing items like tubs and sinks and stuff like that. So we loved the peach tub, but it was paired with a really kind of murky tan tile, and it didn't do much for the color. So we renovated the space, keeping the tub, but added in bright whites with it so that there was a nice contrast of color, and it really brought the tub to life, and then kind of paired it with more like warm terracotta tones in the decorating parts of the process to really like enhance that color. We kept the tub where it was and then just tiled all the walls, and then added in kind of V-groove with a grass cloth above that adds a nice texture and color to kind of build on, and then brought that out again with these sconces that I ordered. They were white, and I thought that I was going to really love that tonal moment, but the white wasn't quite right with the paint. So I painted those, and then had my friend Annie Coley paint shades for those, just to have a moment of movement on those and some interest. I think my favorite part about our home is just how it has evolved with us over the years. I think that like we moved in, and although we didn't have to do like a gut renovation from the beginning, we definitely had ideas of what we thought we would do on like a grand scale of like moving the kitchen here and doing this. And we have instead really just let it adapt to like our needs as a family over the years, and have let it kind of meet us where we are. And that's been really fun to just kind of see it in all seasons of life, and like look back at pictures when this room was a screen porch and we really enjoyed it then, and we're still enjoying it now in a different way. I think one of my biggest tips for decorating your own home is definitely just creating a space that can absorb things that you love. I think that the biggest thing with our house is that I tend to gravitate towards art in certain palettes and furniture of certain styles, and creating a space that can absorb those collections and show off like the personality of those is really important. I think that if you collect things if you're true to collecting things that really speak to you and you love, then as long as you're creating a home that will kind of absorb those things, then that's key. This is Lula's room, our soon-to-be 6-year-old, and for a really long time, her nursery had like this really bright red and white floral wallpaper with yellow accents, and was very like primary colors. And I think I always joke about like I think our kids are they're meant to like love the things that we don't love as much, and like she's definitely pulled me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. So purple has historically been my least favorite color, and so when she asked for a purple room, it was like everything. I embraced it wholeheartedly, but it was definitely pushed me in a lot of ways. So we did a purple kind of faux grass cloth on the walls, and brought in the soft kind of butter yellow to pull to other parts of the house. And this area here, at one point, she is her mother's daughter and loves to rearrange her room. So at some points in time, like her bed was kind of tucked in this cozy bed nook and had drapes that could kind of create this little tent around her. And now she wanted this to be more of a usable stage for performances. So we moved the bed, and we sit on the bed and watch Lula shows. But it's been really fun to kind of embrace a color scheme that I wasn't as comfortable with, and see her personality kind of shine in her room, and see the things that she collects and likes to show off. Because this is a small room, kind of early on it had bifold doors, and when this was a nursery, we were worried about tiny fingers and bifold doors, so we took those off, but have found it really nice to kind of just gain the square footage of the space with the closet. So we have had a little reading nook down here for a long time for her, and books, and then kind of also houses clothing, but it's nice to kind of let the space do some different things and not just be for storage. I think a home soul is definitely given to it by like showcasing the personalities that live there. I think, like I've mentioned, like we collect a lot of local art, and I think that definitely gives a atmosphere that feels warm and inviting and has a lot of personality. And I think that color does that. I think that music on when you're having a party does that. I think that scents do that. And I think that just creating an atmosphere that shows like off who lives there, I think is the most important thing when showing the soul. The word home to me really just is a super symbolic feeling of like a place that just feels like where you want to be more than any other place. I think that we've done a lot to create kind of a warm, safe haven here that feels like this is where I want to be on the weekends, this is where I want to be with my family, and it just feels like where you feel the most comfortable.